So, you're listening to Whose Turn Is It Anyway? And we're doing a very special episode about the Expo. I'm here with JP.
Hello there.
Becky.
Hi.
And Adrian.
Hello.
And we're just going to be doing our general Expo goodness, where we're going to cover the con, we've actually got quite a nice amount of recordings, but that's going to come out later. At the moment, we're just going to talk about our experience and kind of what games we got to see and who we got to meet and what fun was had.
Yeah, all that shenanigans.
Yeah, how's everyone feeling after the con, by the way?
Knackered.
Today is Wednesday, so we came back on Sunday, and I'm just about feeling human, but I'm very tired still because I'm old.
I mean, this is late for us, right? Because normally we record
like the day after.
The day after. I don't know how we do it or had done it, but we've given ourselves a few days.
Feels like a fever dream, I think, normally.
Yeah, I would have been coughing up a lung if we did it the day after, because I definitely got con crud, like just stuck in the throat and the lungs. But I'm going to be coughing up anyway, because I cycled here, because I was like, yeah, let's use my bike. How about you, Adrian? How are you feeling?
I'm just knackered. Well, I'm okay now. Monday I slept a lot of. I always take the Monday off after the Expo, and I slept a lot of the Monday. Yeah,
I've started doing that now, because I've seen that you were doing it, and I was like, that's actually a really good idea, because I always feel like absolute crap afterwards. So.
Yeah,
I did not. I wish I had, but I did not.
No.
I used all my annual leave up, so I had no annual leave left. So sad times.
Sad times.
All right, let's get to it. So what a better place to start then? Our journey into the Expo. So we kind of went up in drips and drabs, didn't we? It was me, JP and Rob in one car, Adrian and Marcus in another.
Yep.
And then Kerley.
Team Kerley in our car.
Kerley. And you didn't go with Tambo.
We didn't know. So Tambo came with his brother Chris and his nephew Josh, but we were staying in the same hotel originally. And we'll get into that later.
Yeah, that's
we all met.
A little bit of drama, guys.
We all met at the hotel and then got an Uber into the NEC.
Nice. On our journey up, it was quite uneventful, really. Not too much happened other than I dropped JP and Rob off into a car park and had to go wait in some other random car park because I wasn't allowed to wait at the Premier Inn, I don't think.
So me and Rob at the Premier Inn, and for those that don't know, the car park will allow you 10 minutes of free entry before it starts charging you obscene amounts of money. I think £10 per day for just staying longer than 10 minutes. So you're constantly seeing Ubers going in and out quickly.
Yeah.
And we thought, won't be long, mate. We'll just get dropped off. We'll dump the bags and get checked in. And the queue was mahoosive.
Oh, no.
Coming right out. We thought, oh, God, here we go. So, it was. It took a good 40 odd minutes, I'd say, to get checked in. And bless Davey, waiting on the sidelines.
I just found a random car park and parked. Now, hopefully I won't get a ticket for it, but it was pretty... I think it was all right. It was just like one of those ones that wasn't developed, so it was fine. If anyone's listening to this and tries to give me a ticket,
it wasn't.
Please don't. Please don't. Yeah. But other than that, other than me losing the bezel of my watch, we all got in there safely.
That was right at the start.
And we bumped into Adam from Punchboard, and we walked in. He told us a nice Cornish pasty story.
He did.
About empanadas and the fact it was some Cornish miners that went over that brought what's called an empanada over to Spain, which is pretty much South America, which is pretty much just a South American pasty.
Nice.
Chilean pasty. Yeah, there you go.
Bit too much Cornish chat though, wasn't there?
Well, there's a lot of pasty talk, wasn't there?
It's always nice to see Adam though, isn't it?
Yeah, joking.
He's a lovely guy.
Yeah, we love Adam. He's a great guy. We spent a good amount of time with him at Full Board Gaming, which was really nice to get some games with him. But yeah.
I trust his recommendations.
Oh, absolutely.
I absolutely
Solid.
trust his. He's cost me a lot of money, that man.
Good man.
So that's our rather mundane, I guess, journey in. There's no other exciting stories.
No exciting stories, but we had a lot of your music taste, Davey, of what was it? Soul funk and underground Dutch.
Dutch hip-hop.
Hip-hop, yeah.
It was great.
Very eclectic, very different.
It's no cheesy bangers though, is it?
It's not cheesy bangers.
Cheesy bangers.
I did say we were going to put some cheesy bangers on, and then no one wanted it. We kind of just forgot and just cruised home.
I'm sorry, Bex.
Well, it's fine. We didn't have cheesy bangers in the car either because Kerley is not a cheesy banger fan.
He's not team cheesy bangers.
No, he's not.
So, and I think if you did put him in team cheesy bangers, it would just ruin it. It would sour the experience.
What we should do for next time is get our listeners to make our playlists that we have to listen to for our
That'd be
drive.
great.
and then we'll feedback what. So if any of you are music lovers, then give us a playlist
do
for
as
our
a
next
mixtape.
drive-in. Yeah.
About 2.5 hours long it needs to be. So do as a mixtape on maybe Spotify or something.
That'd be
and
mega.
We can
That'd be
listen to it on
cool.
the way. Yeah.
So whose turn is it anyway?
We'll put Whose Turn Is It shared mixtape, and people just add to it.
And we'll just listen to it all the way.
Yeah, we'll just listen to it all the way.
Everybody has to, including Kerley.
Don't drop our own episodes in there, because then we'll seem really egotistical driving along the motorway, blaring out our own voices. But
Not with the old mics.
Right, let's get into it. Preview show on the Thursday. If people don't know, then on the Thursday they do a little press event where content creators and journalists can go in and speak to some of the developers. They also say what booth they're at and kind of give us a little taste of what their game's about. So you kind of know before the whole expo opens where to go and what games to play and who to talk to about getting interviews and everything else. So should we talk about some of the games that we got to? Because even though we spoke to a lot of people, we weren't able to get around to a lot of the developers we wanted to. There just wasn't enough time in the weekend. So I'm sorry if you are listening and we weren't able to get to you. Give us an email and we're more than happy to do expansion episodes.
We'll come to your house.
Yeah, JP will come to your house.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Invited.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
We'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. Has anyone got any standout games that they want to talk about which we weren't able to play?
Yeah, so I think the one that I saw at the press event that I didn't see elsewhere because it's not really out yet is the game called Rock Hard by Davey. So they've got it's about being a rock star, and it's, again, Davey do great sort of production value, and it is exactly that. So each of your little player boards looks like an amp, and it's got the 4 twiddly knobs at the top that track all of your different bits and pieces.
It's like the standard old Marshall amps that you remember that you have, the solo amps.
Yeah, and there's kind of a mix between getting up early to do better things, but you're a rock star, so you shouldn't be going to bed early and getting up early. You should be laying in, so there's kind of a push-pull mechanic there. And one of the other bits that I really enjoyed was that you can eat candy as sugar. And this gives you extra actions. But if you eat too much candy, you'll crash, and so you start losing actions.
Is it candy?
Well,
is it really though?
It's in these the tokens are in the little pink sweetie wrappers to make it look like candy. But I did think, I wonder if this started off development as candy, or if they kind of went, it's a bit much, we'll turn it into candy, shall we? But there's just didn't really get chance to talk too much about the gameplay, but just the production value and kind of what they're aiming to achieve with the whole, personal player board of an amp. The idea of that you need to be a bit rock and roll, but you also kind of need to do what you need to do to make it in as a career. And then these little candies that emulate this sugar crash if you eat too much candy. I just thought it looks like it's going to be an awesome game, and it's one I'm going to keep my eye on, even though it's not going to be previewed for quite a while from what I can see. So yes,
I think Essen in time for.
I'm really hoping so.
Nice.
it'd be one I'll keep an eye on. Yeah,
the production value was great. I went over and I bumped into Adrian while he was kind of showing it off to you, and I thought, this looks awesome.
Trying not to dribble on the board because it just looks so nice. It was right next to Sand, so obviously Sand was one of the big ones that was released. Not released, but it was sort of previewed here at the Expo, and just right next to it. But a load of people seemed to keep walking past it, and it was such a vibrant board with all this production value. I was like, I know Sand's kind of the hotness right now, but look at this. It just looked really funky, and it's one I'll keep an eye on.
We did want to talk to the Devere guys as well, and they were really keen to do a little segment, but we never got around to it, unfortunately. So hopefully keep your ears pricked, and we'll be able to get them onto the future episode.
We'll try. Cool. I spoke, it's kind of towards the end of the preview show, and I went to Lucky Duck Games. That sounded really middle, is that? Lucky Duck?
Lucky Duck.
Lucky Duck.
Lucky Duck.
Yeah. Because I listened to my own voice through these headphones, and I realised that actually I do have an accent.
You are Northern,
I do the same thing.
You have got a really Northern accent.
All right, went to Lucky Duck. I went to Lucky Duck Games, and I spotted a familiar face who was kind of manning the stand, and it was Devon from Devon Talks Tabletop, has a YouTube channel over in the States. And I thought I'll just go and say hello. And he was kind of in the middle of just chatting with one of his mates behind the table. So we had a really good chat, and then he instantly challenged me to a duel. Not Pistols at Dawn, but Kiri-Ai the Duel, which is a little card game, I had no idea what he was talking about, but, it's Thursday. I was really excited to be at the show. It's like, yeah, go for it. And Kiri-Ai, the Duel was just a little cool card game. You're two samurais on a cliff edge dueling, and it's basically all ran by about 13 cards, and you program 2 moves in each time, trying to kill each other. Really simple. Really, it's just a cool little card game. And we had a game, and I killed him.
You did. You killed him pretty quick.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really good.
He called me a naughty word.
He did,
yeah. I also bumped into you towards the end of this game as well, and you guys were like shouting at each other, so you're quite easy to find.
Yeah, we were quite loud.
Yeah.
But it was all in good spirits, and the fact that I'm British and he's American, and
he enjoyed calling you that word.
He loved it.
You could see the glint in his eye.
Yeah, I got him to do it again, but with meaning.
Yeah.
So if you don't know the word, it's the C word, but I'm not saying it.
We're good on this show, aren't we?
Unless it's the bloopers.
But
I really enjoyed the game. Spoiler, I've picked it up, or Becky managed to secure a copy during the show. So
yeah, I zipped around to Zatu and just saw about 8 of them on the table in the centre, and I was
so
like, they're not going to stay there for very long. I just know it. So I picked up 2, and they were gone the next day.
Yeah, and the cards are made out of like that plastic, so they're like really good quality. They'll probably last forever. And I just thought it'd be quite a nice game to play with Josh. And funny enough, we were playing it when you walked in.
Yeah.
And Josh beat him.
And he beat me. He keeps beating me at it. I'm just crap. Mainly because it's programming.
I love how you were giving it at the beginning when we walked in as well. You're like, I'm just about to beat Josh at the game. And then Josh went, I win.
Yeah.
It was great timing.
And basically move forward, move back. Oh, no, I'll stab you.
Yeah. And Josh is how old, just to remind everybody?
At least 27.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, 9.
It's a good game, though. Even I understood it, and I liked the look of it.
Yeah.
I bought myself a copy as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and it's in a very cute little kind of black cottony pouch.
Yeah.
That's based on, I think it's like an ancient
scrolly thing.
Money pouch thing from a time
Japan.
period. Yeah, that I don't know.
Feudal Japan.
Feudal Japan or something. Yeah.
Yeah. A coin purse.
Yes, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's really good.
But yeah, cool little game. Recommend it for that. Just got 5 minutes. Takes 5 minutes and you're done.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
The thing I remember most about the preview show wasn't a game particularly, although it was fun when I bumped into you playing the Kiri-Ai game. There was a craft kind of stall, which always kind of, I prick my ears up and go and have a little look. And the girl was called Becky, so I remembered her name. She runs easily to remember for me. She runs like a cross-stitch kind of making enterprise on Etsy. It's called the Enchanted Needle. Well, Enchanted Needle, if you're looking. And they did really great. She did some really great designs, sort of like a gelatinous cube and a poison vial and a mimic chest and all little meeple stuff. And it was her first expo, so she kind of, you could tell she didn't really know what she was going to expect or how it was going to be. And, spoilers, I ran into her on Friday and bought a couple of her bits. And she just had a great time. It was really nice to see someone realising how much people like their stuff. And it was really nice. She was, really excited. And people have bought my stuff. I've sold loads. And I was like, that's because they're really great. So, it was really nice to see her.
That's cool. It's good because a lot of people, it's their first time, isn't it?
Yeah.
They don't really know what to expect. No. And we were there once. Going, what the hell is this place all about? It's quite daunting.
Big noisy hangar, and everyone's
oh, my head hurts. It's only Thursday.
Yeah.
Any other games that caught people's eyes?
I got to talk to sit-down board games about Redwood. Not my type of game, but I was really impressed with how unique it is. It's won awards, and you can see why. It's basically about animal photographers, and it's kind of like this, all about this geometric placement of where you place your photographer, and then you have these little measurements, and where that measurement goes, you then also have like a little I'm trying to think of the shape. It's like a lens shape where obviously it's a triangle, but it slowly gets bigger with a curve.
Mm-hmm.
So as if it's coming out of a camera, and you put that down, and then everything that's within your image you get to pick up and put into your little photograph. And then you score points for what's in your photograph and who's got the best photograph. So I found it really interesting. Not my type of game. Probably not enough depth there. But I really liked the visual aspect of it and its uniqueness. Like, I can't think of a board game that's doing that kind of thing. And for some people, that's going to be really appealing. So definitely check out Redwood.
I was talking to someone in the Bring and Buy sale about that game, actually. doing my normal thing of chit-chatting to the people in the bring and buy sale. A guy in front of me and his partner, I think, he was saying how much he liked the look of Redwood and how good it was. And it did sound really, really interesting.
Just sound right up your street, Becky.
Yeah.
I mean, animals.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, done.
Yeah, it's just the uniqueness of the photo you take. You then pick up what you like, take that environment as the background, and then you take the little animals you've taken a photo of and you put them in those spaces. And so it's like where the isometric landscape of where your photographer kind of was, and then you take the little photo. It's then like a little, as if you're viewing it flat on. Mm-hmm. That's your little photo. Yeah, so it kind of is a very good visual representation, and I'm really impressed by the ingenuitivity of the.
It's a big word.
I know, it took me a while getting it out of that design space.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely worth a mention.
Nice.
The other one I've just thought of is Necropolis, which was there was a guy stood like on one of the corners holding a beer, half a beer, and just chatting to anyone who went past. And he created a little.
Is that him drinking it in real time?
What's that?
Holding a beer, half a beer.
Was
it that quick? It was every time you turn around, like another half was gone. You're like, oh, where's he getting all this beer from?
No, not quite. He was just holding half a beer when I got to him, and you walk up and down the sort of aisle and kind of look and sort of, that'll suit me, that won't. And I noticed the miniatures and noticed that some of them were Games Workshop ones, but there were others that weren't, and I was quite interested to sort of see what the ones that weren't were. And it was on this big sort of, I think it was like a 16-inch by 16-inch board, but the board was like 16 inches tall and all very 3D and looked really cool. And it was all skeletons, and as the game called Necropolis might hint, it was kind of all gothic and dark and all that kind of stuff. And he said, "Oh, can I give you my spiel?" Yeah, absolutely not a problem. Go for it. So he was saying that the rules are free. The STLs are cheap. I think if you go to his Patreon or whatever, you can get the STLs to 3D print them for quite cheap as well. But there's a couple of things that caught my eye on this game, which is that there's no missing in this game. You either graze or hit, and if you graze, it's like a single point of damage. But at least you're doing something for your attempt. Whereas so many war games that you play, these miniature games, it's like hit or miss on one dice. So you're like, well, you might get rerolls or whatever, but sometimes it feels a bit like bad luck. Whereas at least if you're doing a point of damage, that's good. And the other thing was that you can constantly kind of bring waves of skeletons back on, and you have a certain level of, he did call it something specific. I'm going to call it mana for lack of the actual term. But as skeletons die, they drop little portions of mana. So the Lich can go around and pick these bits up to give them more to try and bring in. And some of them do that and are running around trying to pick up bits, and some are just there to hit people and stuff. And it just seemed like just a nice couple of mechanics to put into a game. And
so the resource generation is actually from actually playing it, and then that's how you then get units in.
Yeah.
So like a Pox Nora or a Feria kind of mechanic.
Sure.
Yeah,
fine.
Whatever.
It's just that recycle idea. You kill 2 or 3 and you're going to bring at least one back sort of thing. Yeah. So it's going to keep going, and because you're constantly hitting things and it's 3D, so it's all about pushing skeletons off and like off of the edge and stuff like that. So it just stuck out at me, and I know that Marcus was there as well, and I know he's talking about starting it. So just really interested me. There's not many sort of the smaller war games that catch my eye anymore, but that one certainly did. And I think it'd be interesting. I'm interested to see if Marcus picks it up, what it actually plays like.
Yeah.
If you're listening, Marcus, pick it up.
Yeah, pick it up, Marcus.
Pick it up.
Do it.
I'm going to talk about a game we played afterwards called Avant Carde.
I love that game. It's so good.
I was really impressed.
I'm so glad I got to wheel it out.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't see it anywhere for sale over the whole expo.
I asked in most of the the big shops. Nobody had it. Nobody had it at all.
Yeah,
so
no one had it.
I think it'll have to be an internet purchase.
Which we've spoken about it before, so I'm not going to go over it. But
I think in either the last episode or the one before,
exactly.
I did an overview.
JP enjoyed rolling
colours.
it out onto the table. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much, and I don't know the other name. I think it's called Sevens or something like that. But it's shithead mixed with Uno. Where you've got your own rules on each numbers of cards, but these rules are modular and they're actually written on the cards above. And then you play like a Uno hand, but only for yourself, but with slight shithead rules. and I'm going to keep swearing because I don't know the actual name of the game. So,
that's what we called it at college, isn't it? That's what it's called.
Yeah. Whereas I think it might be Sevens or something over, because Seven was used to be one. I can't remember what
it's
the
always
actual name.
shithead, and the beauty with shithead is that everybody has their own rules of what the powers do in the cards.
Yeah.
So again, you're right. I never thought of Avant Carde being a bit shithead-like, but it is.
But it is. It is.
It is for that reason. And you could literally make your own power cards as well.
Yeah.
Probably break the game, but hey, it's a bit of fun.
Well, it's not too long of a game, is it? So it doesn't really matter.
No, it's good.
But
good fun to
very
play.
impressed, and I will be picking it up.
Nice.
Me too.
There we go. And I think that's all we kind of got done on Thursday. We were pretty knackered by the end of that day.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of games. We saw a lot of publishers, but a lot of the ones that we saw we'll probably talk about in a minute. So, because we went to see them in the booths in the show. So, yeah.
Oh, we went to Nandos.
We did.
We went to Nandos.
Had a cheeky
I
Nandos.
spilled chili sauce all down my crotch, which looked great before we went into the preview.
It did.
And my appetizer for Nando's was a cheeky Five Guys burger. So
You did, I forgot you did that. You had a nice aperitif of a burger.
I was starving. So me and Marcus got there because he was setting up the tournament and had to be there early. So I was there by 12. Got to the hotel at like 1 o'clock, an hour early, and went, "Can I book in?" And they're like, "Yeah, absolutely, you can book in, not a problem." And then after that, I was kind of just wandering around waiting for you guys to turn up. It's, "Oh, we'll be there in half an hour. We'll be there in half an hour. We'll be there in half an hour." None of you turned up till like close to 4 o'clock. So I was just getting peckish. So I stopped and had a Five Guys burger, and then you were like, "You joining us for Nando's?" "Yeah, I can have a cheeky Nando's together as well." So yeah, I definitely ate on Thursday.
Yeah.
My I'll get blue light discount was really, really pointless.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So I took a little notebook with me and a pen, as is my nature. So I ordered for me, for Kerley, for Tambo, for Chris, and for Josh. Guess how much NHS? So that came to 91 quid for the 5 of us. Guess how much NHS discount I got?
I don't know what.
£4.
Yeah.
Is that
£4. Which £4 is still £4.
Yeah, but across 5 of
But
you.
we could have all just ordered on our phones and made it a lot easier than me writing everybody's thing down, queuing for ages, doing the thing. So, quick tip: don't bother.
Don't bother.
Just use your app.
Yeah.
But there you go, £4.
No, you had £4. That's £4 spent on crocheted board game goodness.
Well, it is. You're right.
Exactly.
It is. Yeah. So imagine how that would be if you then had all of that travelling and all of the kind of scrum in the press event, and then you go back to your hotel and you think, "Oh, I'll have a lovely shower," and then you don't because there's no hot water.
Oh, this is the drama.
Drama's coming out, people.
Drama's coming out.
So I'd already had my misgivings about the hotel because Kerley booked it when we were here, basically this time last year, and I looked at a few reviews sort of last week and was like, oh, there's like 50% 5-star and 30% 1-star.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that is a bad percentage.
And I was like, oh, someone had mentioned bed bugs, and I was like, oh no, there were no bed bugs that I saw. That was absolutely fine.
I think you would have taken the bed bugs and a hot shower, wouldn't you?
Well, it's probably bed bugs because no one could shower.
Maybe.
True.
But yeah, so by 1 o'clock in the morning, the very nice hotel staff, and they were very, very nice, had managed to find another room that I could shower in, but we weren't able to stay in that room because someone was booking into it tomorrow. So but they had like an electric shower, so I could have my shower, and that was fine. And then they heartily promised us on Friday morning that it would definitely be fixed. And I was like, yeah, but if it isn't, what's the kind of, oh no, it definitely will be fixed. Like, yeah, okay. And it cut to the end, it wasn't. It was not fixed.
You had a very frustrated Kerleys.
Yeah,
I would say.
And I'm not a princess, although some people would argue with that. However, I don't mind, bit of a skanky room, bit of a, iron melted bit of the carpet, clanky rooms. If Tambo or Chris had farted in the next room, we would have heard it. It was literally the walls were paper thin. However, I can cope with all of that. But cold water shower, I'm sorry, absolutely not.
No.
Just no.
It's 2024.
Isn't that Swedish guy that swears by it?
Yeah, well, fine, crack on,
Yeah,
mate.
it
I'm
says
not
the
doing it.
fucking cold.
Christoph, isn't it? It's a Christoph something.
Well done, Christoph. Well done, Christoph. I am not having a cold shower. Not in the UK, in the cold.
Yeah.
No.
And it's one of those things that being at a sweaty expo for a day, makes you want to shower.
I mean, maybe some of the people that were also staying in the hotel didn't notice there was no showers. Maybe not. I don't know. But I noticed and I did not care for it.
My shower was lovely.
I'm really glad.
Yeah. The Ardent, there was a power shower. You could tell they've got a swimming pool there because they've obviously got all the pumps and the heated water enough, and it was lovely.
Mine was a droopy power shower.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yours kept falling down.
Yeah, the shower head kept falling down. So luckily I had an elastic band on me and I jury-rigged that thing up so that I could have a proper shower.
So I think it is worth, if you're going to go to Birmingham and it's far away for you and you're going to stay in a hotel, decide whether you're going to go for quite a lot of money near the hotel, near the NEC, or you're just going to accept that you're going to get a dog poo room. I mean, it's still going to be quite expensive.
That's to say that all hotels that aren't at the NEC are dog poo.
Well, no, the one we stayed in was great. In the end, we had to get a last minute other booking, and it was like a country club somewhere that said it was like 5 miles. It was not. It definitely wasn't 5 miles. But no, it said it was 15 minutes. It definitely wasn't 15 minutes. But it was very nice. And there were deer scampering around the outside in the morning when we saw it. Nice. And it was a golf course. So I think
it was the same chain as ours, though, wasn't it? It was one of the Arden ones.
Well, this was a Forest of Ardent.
Forest of Ardent.
Yeah.
No,
it was very nice. Could very much recommend that hotel, but you're going to pay about £16 for an Uber.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know.
Or driving, I guess.
Yes, you could. I guess you could. Hey,
there we go. Hotel chat. Hotel chat. Yeah, I didn't get to go for a swim. I forgot my swimming stuff. So we had a swimming pool and a sauna. I didn't use any of it.
I
bought my swimming stuff just in case. But when do you fit? Like, I was going back to the room earlier than you guys, and I still wasn't like, I'll go for a swim now. It's just like I'm knackered.
Knackered lie down. Yeah.
It's just a sauna. It's not. I'm knackered, or I couldn't go in the sauna.
But I learnt from last time.
Yeah.
When we did the Torquay event and I had a big dinner and then went in the sauna. That was stupid. Never doing that again.
Night, Becky.
I'm gone.
So
tired.
Yeah. It's true.
You used to be able to get the hotels pre-ordered whilst you're at Expo without the hotels cottoning on that it was like a popular weekend, but they're all over it now.
Yeah.
They're all over it.
I bumped into an old gaming group and they get like an Airbnb for 9 people. And of course it works out pretty good. But what they actually do is they get it for 5 nights. And then for the 2 days after the convention, they sit and play games.
That's a great idea.
Which is a great idea. And as they said, it works out still cheaper than 9 of them. Even if they got twinned up sort of thing. It works out still cheaper than doing that at like the Hilton or whatever.
Yeah.
So
that's a really good idea.
There's certainly some ways to kind of
I think
save a few pennies.
We should look into doing that.
Put it on the list.
Yeah.
Sounds like an organisational thing. JP?
Yeah.
Get Rob to do it.
Yeah.
Project manager Rob.
Yeah, Rob's keen.
Speaking of Rob, was it Friday morning that Rob went for a very, very long walk?
Oh, yeah. Straight into Friday. This is a great little intersection.
Nice segue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we got up, showered, had breakfast, the usual shenanigans, and decided to walk to the expo. It's a good 20-minute walk from the Premier Inn. It's actually not that bad. I thought it was further than it actually was in my head, and it's fine. So we got pretty much near the Moxie Hotel, which is right outside the front of Hall 1, and I think I took my hoodie off and exposed my pass that was around my neck. Then he just had this horrid look and went, "Oh crap, I've forgotten my pass." I was like, "Are you joking?" I said, "No." I said, "Well, off you go then." So he had to double take, turn back round, and he walked 20 minutes back to get the pass. 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get it, 20 minutes back to the expo.
So basically we called him Frodo for the rest of the day, didn't we? Off on his mission.
There and back again, a Rob's tale.
Yeah, they won't reissue your passes, guys, so make sure you remember to take them.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Just never took mine off. That's the
sleep
key.
in it.
Yeah, sleep on it.
And it's that moment, like, I hate it when you forget something and you're already nearly where you need to be and you've got to go back on yourself. And it's just like, it's so frustrating. So, yeah, he was pissed off.
Yeah. You were no Samwise there. You didn't go back with him.
No, I had a demo booked. So
JP Samwise.
Yeah. I'll carry you myself. I said no. I've got a Mindclash visit. I've got to do. Sorry, pal.
Yeah, he was never gonna win over Mindclash, was he?
No, definitely not. So that leads us straight into Ironwood, isn't
Ironwood, yeah. So Ironwood is Mindclash Games' kind of newest game that they're promoting, and they were all over Expo. They had three tables of it, and they were demoing their other kind of back catalogue as well, all but Tricarion, which I was a little bit sad for Tricarion because needs a lot more love.
It's the best.
I mean, it's debatable. It's the best, but it's bloody good. I mean, it's fantastic.
But it is old news.
But it is old news. It's like old hat in it. But come on, Mindclash.
I think everyone's kind of heard of Tricarion now.
Yeah,
who knows about it?
Everyone,
it's a really amazing game.
Just buy
full
it.
Stop.
And to be fair,
on to the next era.
Yeah, they didn't have. They had Septima, they had Voidfall, and Perseverance Episode 3. So I think they had those, and then Ironwood was the others. So yeah, we were invited for a demo, which was fantastic. Thank you, Dorka, for arranging that. And we pretty much sat down, and me and Davey had a little teacher game of Ironwood, and Soma basically gave us the teach.
Yeah.
And I played as the Woodwalkers.
I was the Iron.
He was the Ironclad.
Ironclad.
Ironborn. He's gone Game of Thrones. And for those that don't know what it is, Ironwood is a 2-player, asymmetric, card-driven, doody, smashy
skirmish game.
Yeah. And plays in about 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And actually does play in about 60 minutes. So you kind of have a hand of cards. 3 of those cards are like your base cards, so whenever you play them, you'll get them back every time. And then you've got a deck of unique cards that do all sorts of cool stuff. And then if you play them, you don't get those back. So they're kind of one and dones. And because the factions are asymmetric, so the Ironclad is all about, like Masters of Industry. They produce a lot of gems that they find around. They've got this massive drill machine that they kind of wander around.
They're kind of more moving around in a big clump.
The war bands.
Yeah, with your main goal being trying to get as many gems, or crystals, which is one of the resources you use to buff cards, as possible to then fuel your end game victory condition, which is build forges.
They've got to build 3 forges, and then they win. They have more forges, but they just convert the foundations into forges.
They have to control 3 forges, which means you have to have a unit on it.
Yes. And the Woodwalkers are very different. They live, unsurprisingly, in the woods.
Remind me of the Scoia'tael.
Sure.
From Witcher.
Nerd. And
reminded me of Avatar and the kind of Na'vi.
Yeah.
The kind of...
Yeah, that reference I got.
Scoia'tael. It's fine.
Witcher.
Yeah, Witcher. Yeah.
Got it.
There you go.
So they're like the tribes people, very shamanistic. They have a vision deck that they will kind of see where these totems may appear in the world, and they're trying to basically maneuver their troops into the right place. Hopefully, the Ironclad aren't in the certain town that the Woodwalkers need to kind of infiltrate, and basically they find the totem and then try to bugger off.
You're doing like a mini game of capture the flag every time, aren't you?
And it's these totems, once discovered, they end up they kind of wane after time, and then they disappear. So you've got a limited amount of time to get them. So usually when they appear, the Ironclad's like, right, let's get the boys in and to kind of duff them up a little bit. And
because they've got less movement, the whole tactic is to try and maybe throw the Ironclad off the scent and make them go somewhere else.
Bait and switch and a bit of that. So with these games, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it actually, and I think with the game, you just kind of got to go, right. Your first game is a learning game, like most of these things, and you're trying to learn your faction and learn what the other factions are doing, and you're probably going to play suboptimally, and like the seesaw in any 1v1 game, it's probably just going to tilt one way quite quickly, and that's the way it's going to go, and then you'll go switch sides, play again, and then figure it out, and then you can kind of really lean into the depth, I would say, of the game that's there. Because it's rules light, it literally takes 5 minutes to really grasp what's going on. The
card play is, so you've got dual uses of the card.
Yeah.
You've got a card which you'll play down as an action. You have three actions, or is it 4? Three actions. You've got your main ability on the card, which usually can be boosted with crystals, or when you're in a combat, you'll be playing the card for which you've got a strength value, which is basically the things you kill, which is a sword
like
at the
damage,
top. Yeah. A shield, which will defend it, And then you've got your control, which is a flag, which that plus the amount of units you have, whoever's got the highest wins. So it's quite unique in the way it works there, but that's pretty much the rule set.
Yeah, and you can like damage one thing or get, do a small amount of damage, end up with one troop and then still win on dominance. And it's quite nice, and it's clean and it's easy and it's done in seconds, and you can move on with the game. So yeah, we played that, had a demo, and I think Becky and Kerley wanted to kind of jump in, as it's a Mindclash play title, not their kind of flagship title, just like Astra. We was trying to understand, how heavy is this in compared to other games, and I think it's definitely heavier than Astra.
Yeah,
it's not,
I would agree with that.
But it's not like in the same weight as the Septimus or Anachrones or anything like that.
You can't compare it to the other games. Usually you see some sort of mechanics like that kind of transfer over between Mindclashes, or you can see where the design space is. This, you wouldn't know it's a Mindclash game in a lot of sense.
No.
I don't know, the artwork immediately, I could tell, was the same as Septima, and they've got Tricarion shards
same artist.
that are blue.
Yeah,
so it's got what I really liked about it was like you mentioned, that kind of easiness of understanding, right, this is the power of my damage, this is how much I'm going to defend. But if I can manage to still squeak one little troop still there, potentially if your dominance is really high, and it's very, very easy to, obviously you don't know what the other person's going to play, but it's very easy to work out the rules. And I liked the fact that you've got those 3 cards that keep coming back to your hand, so you do play a lot of those cards. What I didn't like about it was potentially the fact that you can't really, it is a bit deterministic because you've just got a big deck of cards. You can't sway what you're going to pick. You're just going to pick the top of the card. So you can't kind of spend resources crafting a deck.
Yeah, to mill it a bit.
But that said, there is a massive amount of cards. So, it's not like, oh, that card I want is at the bottom. I'm going to see it. You might not see it because there's a whole raft of cards. So
we managed to borrow a copy on the Friday evening. So basically Friday for me was Ironwood. I didn't know what the game I played than Ironwood. So thank you again to Mindclash. They said, look, if you want to borrow a copy in the evening, make sure you get it back to us the next day, because it's literally one of their 3 demo copies. So we managed to take it, and you and Kerley had a game, and me and Rob had another game. And actually by the 3rd game I had in the day, having played both sides, I started to get the next layer down on understanding. Yeah. I mean, to be fair to Rob, he didn't have a great game against me because I'm 3 games in and smash. But I started to kind of really enjoy the play and go, this is what I'm going to do. And kind of seeing all your strategies come together. So, yeah.
Well, I think it's one that's actually going to develop with time. The more you learn about what cards the other team has and how they play, then there's going to be do I play this? Or they might have this card to counter that. I'm going to do this. So it's definitely going to be a grower.
It's one of those games that a grower, no, not a shower. But it's a shower. It's quite pretty.
Good production value.
Yeah, good production value. It's one of those games that I think if there's 2 players, 2 people that want to kind of get into it at the same time and get that same level of progression, and you're going to get a lot out of it. Now, my only fear for the game is its longevity. Once you've seen all the cards, once you've played both factions, how much longevity does that game actually have 6 months down the line? Don't know. I've only played it 3 times and it's still fun. So it's one of those.
If it's one that they end up kind of riding with and supporting, then it's got lots of potential. You could do another faction that as a card of 1v1. You can do expansion cards on top of that. So it's going to depend on their support, as with these card battles usually do, because a lot of them do have a limited play. It's just the way that those kind of that concept and that design space is. So it's just going to depend whether they then support it afterwards.
Yeah,
so hopefully they do, because it's a really good game.
Yeah, it's good fun.
So Becky.
So my first purchase was a superior bag of holding from a company called Crow and Crown, which is just basically a really nicely made, like a linen kind of cottony bag that was
like a tote bag, isn't it?
Like a tote bag, yeah, but massive and really cool.
You looked really impressed when you walked over.
I was excited, and I was their first customer as well. So that was
have
quite nice.
Bags within bags, and you can pretty much infinitely store stuff into it.
It'd be cool if it did, but it was just a bag. But it was a cool bag.
Yeah,
but my actual first game that I purchased was one called Manic Minute, by Lajaro Games, which was a really lovely couple it's like a father and daughter team who basically made this game as they played it as kids, and they thought, do you know what, this game's got legs, we're going to produce it properly. And it's like a cross between, I'd say, Categories and Just One.
Okay.
So you have like a whole host of cards with a topic on, like, I don't know, the one we had was objects on a teacher's desk. So then you've got just 1 minute to write down all those things. Any amount of people can play, really, but they said it kind of is good at sort of 4, 5, much more than sort of 6, 7, 8 gets a bit
bottle of
difficult.
vodka. Do we all no one else have teachers like that?
Yeah,
no.
Okay.
Not Mr. Hamilton.
So you write all your stuff down in 1 minute, but we only played like a little 30-second demo, and then whoever's got the most unique ones gets that many points. So kind of similar to Just One in the way that if you haven't got a unique answer, it's no good.
Do they have to be viable unique answers?
Yes, you can't
I've got a unicorn on my desk.
Yeah, exactly.
An hard fart.
Yeah, that's not gonna wash. But it really gave me kind of strong point vibes. That kind of very quick, fun, easy to play, interactive. I really liked it, and it's a really, really nicely made, produced item. It doesn't look homemade. It's really nice. So yeah, shout out to Lajaro Games and their Manic Minute. Really
Nice.
impressed. Really impressed.
So we pretty much went on to the live show, where I had a little bit of butterflies and beer shits, because that's what my stomach was feeling like. A little bit nervous for it, but thank you for everyone for supporting us, because it was a nice turnout and we had fun.
Yeah, man. It was full. It was pretty much a full room, right? Which is more than we could ever hope for.
Yeah. It's a humbling experience, as well as being just kind of a cozy time. It was really fun, and it was a really nice vibe in the room, and I think we'll be doing it again.
I'm definitely up for it.
People
I'd
want
be
to
up
come
for it.
along.
Yeah, me too. I think it was good that it was Friday early-ish, because then you could get it done and not be worrying about it, because I'd had a couple of anxiety dreams about it before
me too.
in the run-up. So I'm glad it went really well. I was really pleased. So yeah, thanks for everyone for turning up. But I am glad it was done earlier rather than later, so you hadn't got to spend the whole weekend like, oh god, we're going to do this thing.
It's
so
like
it was
I
good.
didn't really sleep the Thursday night, I'm not going to lie.
So the episode was due to start at 1:30.
Yeah.
We were there just before 1 because we knew we were allowed in from sort of 1-ish. The previous podcast would come out and we would go in. And as soon as it hit that 1 o'clock, I felt myself go silent. JP went silent. I could hear like Davey and Kerley and that quite not panic, but you know, that nervous chatter that's just, I want to say words because I'm nervous. And I was just sort of looking around going, oh, we're all quite invested and a bit nervous about this. And then we went in, about 10 past 1?
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, right, this is going to give us, like, no one's going to turn up until close to the time. This will give us just sort of 10, 15 minutes. We'll get the mic set up, get the room set up. We'll do a quick sort of go through. And everyone turned up at like 20 to the start time. And we were all like, oh, well, we'll just chat to the people while they're here and we'll do a bit of setup and we'll just go with it, I guess. So it seemed to work out all right still.
No,
exactly. I think it softened the room a little bit in that sense. It kind of broke down any boundaries because we just interacted straight away and were able to talk to everyone. And at the end of the day, and some of them weren't, some of them just come along for the show, but a lot of these people had been listening to us, so we're just really appreciative, I think, of the people that did turn up and everyone else, obviously. But
massively. I mean, you kind of agreed to do this thing, and then you have these kind of moments going, but what if no one shows up? And we're just going to, just record an episode like this? We're just going to record an episode and just hopefully
just
release it.
Edit in the canned audience.
That's amazing.
There'll be lots of different versions of me laughing, so that none of it's copyright, and then you're just going to have me.
But I think as soon as we walked in, there's a Canadian guy who had been in the previous show, and he was just like, "Yeah, I'm just going to stay here and watch this one."
Yeah.
And he was really lovely, wasn't he?
It
Didn't catch
yeah.
his name, so I hope he's now a listener, and I hope he's listening. So thank you so much for your support right from the start. He was a really nice guy.
Exactly, and got engaged with the show, asked a few kind of questions and stuff.
And we will be releasing it, so you'll be able to hear kind of what we got up to and how it went anyway. So
next week.
Yeah, next week. Watch this space or listen to this
Don't
space.
watch it. You can't.
No. The
not
listening
much to see.
space sounds a bit weird.
Well, you can watch it on YouTube, but you're literally just watching our logo with the time bar going very slowly across the bottom. So yeah, there you go.
So I rushed straight from the episode finish. I had managed to kind of talk Marcus into playing a game that I'd played a long time ago, and I'd met up with some people just before the episode who I used to game with, and they were in a tournament for a game called Bushido, a miniature war game. So feudal Japan, kind of historical-ish, mostly sort of fantasy. There's lots of sort of kamis and like ghostly spirits and stuff like that in it.
It's kind of historical because it's their own myths and everything else as well.
And so I'd kind of talked Marcus into it. I said, let's go and have a look at the stall. It'd be good to have a look and maybe see what you like and all that kind of stuff. And we went there, and I'll be honest, I think I visited them 5 times in the end because I couldn't decide what faction I wanted. And then when I did, I couldn't decide which of the models for that faction I wanted. And every time they must have talked to me for a good 45 minutes. And I didn't, like, maybe they just got really good customer service faces, but I didn't get any vibe of, could you please sod off so we can serve other customers, which I kind of would expect after that amount of time. But yeah, Mark's ended up getting some bits on the Friday. I got some bits on the Saturday, and I think, Davey, you got some bits on the Sunday, I think.
Yeah, well, Sunday and Friday, I think I got... Oh, no, it was a Sunday. It was a Sunday. So I'm now invested.
We're now all invested in that, looking forward to it. We started building models and stuff like that. But the guys there were just really friendly and sort of really happy to talk about the game. It's been going for years. It's on 3rd edition, but...
It's strange how long it had been going, because I've never heard of it.
Had you not?
No. But then Goonhammer's done a whole recent article where they were like, the best skirmish game you've never heard of. And
I think it's going for... I started playing it originally about 8 years ago. I think it was 7-8 years ago, I want to say. And really enjoyed it, but was no good at it. I picked the wrong faction for me. And then I just happened... When me and Marcus were talking about sort of games that we'd like to play but couldn't. And yeah, it just kind of come around from that. So I went straight there, forced Marcus to buy some bits and pieces, talk to the guys. And then the rest of the time before the next demo I had was, I like to scout out the hall on a Friday. So most of Friday morning and a bit of Friday afternoon, I'd been just scouting out, just walking up and down, getting a feel for who had what games, what prices, all that kind of stuff. And sort of, okay, well, this is Craft Corner. This is for your smaller game studios, because that's kind of how they lay it out. They do lay out the halls in a way that makes sense. So I'd kind of done that and then worked out that, as per usual, Chaos cards were cheapest for a lot of the games, and went and bought pretty much all of my games on the Friday, apart from the Bushido sort of models. But everything else I'd bought on the Friday, just picking up what was cheapest and knowing what I kind of went for. I was quite well behaved. I wasn't really influenced by people showing things off on stands. Maybe that's really bad of me, but I was kind of trying to be really well behaved this time round. So I had my shopping list and I bought my shopping list.
Yeah.
I tried to buy my shopping list. I tried to buy mini Euro card sleeves for Septima. Nobody had card sleeves until right at the very end did I find board game extras.
I was going to say, did you see board game extras? Because they've always got Mayday sleeves.
That's where I got it from.
Yeah.
But everywhere else,
Could have told you that.
Oh, well, thanks, Adrian. But no, I had fun walking
Captain
down.
after the fact. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought Prostitutes and Sumos was my faction.
That was so unrelated to the previous point. But yes, for Bushido, you bought Prostitutes.
Right, it's a natural thing, is it?
Yeah. It's my faction. It's a Silver Light Moon.
Silver Moon Trade
Silver
Syndicate.
Moon
So they're all
Trade
criminals.
Right, of course.
Who are somehow doing battle for supremacy of the Jawar Isles, which is the name of the semi sort of fantastical islands.
He didn't even know it was about Bushido, though, did he? He just went, that sounds cool.
Actually, I did a lot of research. I built my army list for using Battlescribe and another thing, and came with a whole tactic of what to buy and play. So it just ended up. It was either pirates or Prostitutes and Sumos.
Yeah,
You should obviously have chosen pirates.
The pirates were really cool, but I think I made the right choice. We'll see. We will see.
Got your sleeves.
I got my sleeves. Yeah, I got my sleeves finally. And I went back for a second round and bought sleeves for something I had already sleeved when I got home to then sleeve. And I was like, oh. But they're universal. They're the regular, the most common
Just
size.
double sleeve them.
Yeah, that's it. Doubly protected cards.
Double sleeve them.
I must say, Board Game Extras is my normal website I go to buy sleeves, and as you know, I sleeve every game I own, so they have a lot of money out of me.
I have bought sleeves from them myself, but I don't know, I find it really irritating paying postage for stuff that is really, really cheap, so I'd much rather buy stuff like that at an expo where you haven't got to pay P&P. But yeah, nobody, I think, was it Ultra Pro weren't there? A lot of the big sleeve people weren't there, and everybody I asked only had whatever size Pokemon cards come in. There was lots of those, but I didn't want those. But yeah, board game extras came through. So I had that on my shopping list and didn't buy that until the very end, but bought plenty of other bits and bobs. But my best epic moment happened on the Friday. This made my convention. I got to meet Milo from Folded Space.
Oh, you did.
Who is the guy who actually designs the inserts. And I think he was, I was a bit embarrassed when I finally walked away. I told him he was my hero, because he is. I'm not going to make any joke. He's my hero. And I had a little photo with him. Kerley's like, do you want me to take a photo? And I was like, yes, please.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is he on your list?
What list? Oh, my I don't have a list. I love my husband too much, Davey. So
I think
at
this point she's on a restraining order list.
But and then every time I was walking around, I tried not to walk past and catch his eyes. I thought he's going to think I'm a mental stalker woman. But I was just so excited to meet the guy who, every time I make one of my Folded Space inserts, I just think, oh God, I know the level of thought that has to go into when you're designing these things from making my own really crap versions. Mm-hmm. So I just appreciate his brain and was really, really pleased to meet him.
I also got some Folded Space stuff.
It's because they're great.
Yeah,
because they're absolutely brilliant. Oh, and Rob got some Folded Space stuff.
Yeah, nice.
Who else did?
That was it.
That was it, I think.
I think I already have most of their Folded Space.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I did buy Arc Nova insert, and we got Lords of Waterdeep as well, because I made a Lords of Waterdeep one and it's pants.
I would have bought their Imperium one if I'd not already bought it directly from Folded Space a week before Expo, because I'm that impatient and I was worried that they would run out of stock.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And actually, if I'd waited a week, I probably would have saved £3. But I was like, I want you now. No. So I just got it.
I'm tempted to buy the Arc Nova stuff that Marcus has got. That stuff is that's next level though, isn't it? That's a lot of money for...
Is that an E-Raptor, is it?
Yeah, that was E-Raptor stuff.
Or was it Laser Rocks? Because they're...
No, E-Raptor.
Yeah.
I still prefer Folded Space.
It's Folded Space is...
Insert off.
Well, it's obviously it's that market though, isn't it? For its cost and what it does, it's very practical and really good.
Their coloured ones for tapestry is beautiful. It's so nice.
Yeah, but
they're all polythene though, aren't they?
Yeah.
But it does make your board game really
super heavy.
Yeah.
That's how I feel with my 3D printed stuff. Is you think that the little sort of bits of plastic are not going to be that heavy, and then even Concordia with all the 3D printed stuff inside it is just heavy now.
Yeah.
So that is one good thing with the Folded Space stuff. Exactly. Is it's really it keeps the game really light.
What else on a Friday?
I suppose we should talk about the bring and buy as a whole, really, shouldn't we, at this point? And we'll just kind of get it out of the way. So let's face it, last year was not the best advertisement for the bring and buy for the Expo. My first year, I queued essentially 2.5 hours. By the time I'd walked all my stuff there, got told to turn away on Thursday, walked back, got there, queued for an hour and a bit in the morning. It was basically 2.5 hours worth of queuing. Everyone else seemed to experience this or worse. Now, they've implemented a load of rules, some of them controversial, some of them less so, in my opinion. And I think that everyone I spoke to got into that bring and buy within about half hour to put their games in. I think the downside of that was because they also weren't allowing people to remark down stuff, was if you looked at the queue to get into the bring and buy on Friday morning, it was the longest I think I've ever seen that queue. People were walking out with 7-8 games at a time, and then by the time we got in there on a Friday afternoon, it was already looking a bit bare. Now, I'll be honest, I think I prefer that over the previous version of it. I know that there's detractors and that both sides, but we all still found something in the bring and buy, right? Because Kerley bought something. I think you bought something?
Yeah, I only bought it for the artwork.
I found a game I was after in there. So... And a lot of people that were in there still on a Friday afternoon were walking around with a game or two in their hands. Yeah, definitely. So we still saw quite a lot of games by the Friday afternoon still being bought. The massive deals probably were gone but I didn't fancy queuing for 2 hours to get those deals on a Friday morning.
And that's the thing, isn't it? I've seen a few comments on some of the socials saying, maybe they should kind of limit people to what they want to buy. And I don't know if I agree with that. I think, well, if I'm a seller, I don't care if one person buys every single thing I own and everybody in the entire... Fine, you just want to sell your stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
So if you can be bothered and you want to put, you prioritise doing that above doing anything else, fine.
That's the point of it.
It's like
though.
going to buy lots of stuff from a stall and buying it all out and then no one else can have it. Well, yeah, but it's fine. The sellers still sold their stuff, haven't they? That's kind of the point.
Hear me out. An online queue. You queue up online, and then it buzzes you when it's your turn to go into the store.
I guess that works if you know what you want to buy.
No. But as in the queue, rather than queuing up to get in,
Easier.
you book in
Like a virtual queue.
Like
a virtual queue,
yeah.
and then it will just
Yeah.
buzz you, and then you walk over and go out.
It works for
And
Disney.
if you don't
Yeah.
turn up, yeah, exactly.
Works for Disney.
Works for Disney.
Yeah.
I'm
Online queue.
of the opinion to make people wait. But
It's because
You
you're
are
mean.
waiting, but you're shopping around the expo as well, and that means double
Double
income.
bubble,
it's true.
baby.
But if you make them queue, then they're not getting in your way while you're looking around the expo. So it's actually nice for expo goers, but not for the money makers.
I would go and check it out if it had the online queue, whereas I normally wouldn't.
yeah, I just let the big queue go, and then I was like, right, okay, let's go and see what was left, and got myself a copy of Lacrimosa. I think from the selling point of view, because there was a lot of talk of Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, sort of shelves were still quite bare. But I know at least 3 of us from our group that we spoke to that said after last year we're not taking games.
Mm-hmm.
If they do the same rules again next year, I'm taking all my games.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Right, and I spoke to 2 or 3 other people who said exactly the same. So I think people have been massively burnt by last year, and what we might see is a bit of a resurgence next year because
Yeah.
everyone saw how well it went this year, having been, it's kind
Might
of
make it worse again.
It was
Yeah.
might make it worse again. There.
who
Yeah,
knows,
yeah.
but at least they've got put the rules in. The rules seem to work as far as we've seen so far. So let's test it with if there's likely to
Yeah,
be more
yeah.
people. But I
I'm
think
going to bring a trolley this time, though, so
Yeah.
I have to carry it about.
me too. Yeah,
Fair enough.
Only to take the games that they're bringing by,
Yeah.
not like to
wander around.
Go around the
follow
expo.
with me. Yeah.
my first port is always the shop and drop though. In the morning, go to the shop and drop, put some stuff in a box for £3, and then you've got it all day.
You love
Yeah.
that, don't you?
Yeah.
It's so useful.
I just don't like carrying stuff around. It just gets achy.
Yeah.
There's so many people there. What you don't want to do is behold like massive bags of stuff, or worst case, like a backpack sort of thing. You
Right.
just don't want that, do you?
Adrian learned last year, didn't you, about the old gaming backpack?
Did I?
Yeah. Didn't you hit someone with it?
Oh yeah, but I put it in the shop and drop, and it was literally as I was walking out the expo with it on my back that I actually hit someone with it. But yeah, it
I
had
thought I'd
been
bring it up again.
it had been in the shop and drop.
I know.
Becky,
It's winding you
Did
up.
KO appear in,
Yeah.
in
KO! He said,
letters,
you
yeah.
win.
Becky dodged some cues again.
Wasted.
I was going to talk about it.
No,
but
I didn't dodge any queues. I did not.
No, you didn't.
I queued up like a good girl every time.
So anyway, so we bring them by, right?
Yeah.
So after that, then me and Davey went to go and see Deep Regrets.
Yeah, really good game.
Loved it.
Really good.
Good. Next game then.
Yeah,
Do you want to elaborate
So-
on this game?
This game, if you've ever played Dredge, then that's kind of the theme behind it. If you haven't, then Cthulhu Fishing, I guess, is the kind of the theme. I don't know how to describe it, because it's a very unique take with lots of familiar mechanics, but altogether it creates a very thematic. What you do, you're fishermen, yeah? You have a rod that has a power, and you have a float, or is it a lure? A lure that has a power. In front of you is the sea, and this is 3 tiers of cards in columns and rows of 3. So 3 by 3. Your boat starts at the shallows, which is the top cards, and you can spend your dice, which is going to be kind of your energy. It's like how much energy you go into the day, which there's various ways to get more energy, but you start off with a set amount of dice, you roll them, and they all look like little floats.
Oh,
That's
They look
very cute.
amazing. The artwork is phenomenal. You roll this, you see how much energy, and you have to spend one of those to take your boat a little bit deeper, to fish a little bit deeper. And then you can pick a card. And the card you pick, you can have a look at first before you try and catch it. And you'll have a look at it. And in the top, it will tell you its fishing value. And you need the energy to be able to catch that fish. And you just spend the dice to be able to catch it. But the fish will have a variety of different things. One's when revealed, sometimes stuff will happen. And people might get regrets because it might be a foul fish. It might be this horrible looking thing. One of them was like a colon angel, which basically...
I'm
it was
sorry.
like,
Oh, what a
colon
colon
angel.
angel.
yeah. So from a distance, it looked like a little angel in the water. When you get closer, you see that it's actually just intestines. A pile of intestines is a foul fish. So this is the whole kind of Lovecraftian horror aspect of the fishing. It's great.
Sounds like the sluice room in one of the operating theatres.
But
That's not
you
nice.
get, if you fish these things, you start getting regrets, and these are bad cards that start getting into your hand, and sometimes you start dishing them out to other players as well. And the regrets they have great writing on, like took a redhead out to sea, 1 regret, or it'll have murdered my best friend, 3 regrets, and stuff like this written on them.
I had sat in oil, 1 regret, and you're like, yeah, I'd regret that a little bit, like not too much. And then there was just some amazing flavour text on all of these cards.
Oh, yeah,
and
got a bad haircut, 0 regrets. Like, didn't really care about it.
And the artwork as well was just fantastic. I think while we're sort of talking about just the production value, as you say, it's what a lot of the foul cards you sort of look at and you go, oh, that looks a bit rough, and then you'd kind of get close to it and you'd be like, oh, that looks nasty.
Yeah. And then it just has great little flavour text and all of it as well. But you've also got other powers on the card. So sometimes when you've caught it, it will do something. Sometimes when you reveal it, it will do something. And then sometimes when you eat it, it will do something. And why would you eat it? If you eat it, you get some energy back so you can keep fishing for longer. Or you want to keep it. And basically, there's ways of when you eventually go back to port, you can mount these fish at the top and they give you point multipliers on the top.
Okay.
Or you can sell the fish to the market, and depending on how insane you are, foul fish get better values when you're insane, and fair fish get better values for being sane. So it's got this nice little push-pull of like, if you want to go for foul fish, you keep doing it, you keep getting the foul fish, keep getting regrets, and you think, oh yeah, that's fine. Basically, at the end, it's got a mechanic where you tot up everyone's regrets because they're all different numbers on the cards. You know how many cards everyone's got, but not the numbers. You tot up everyone's regrets. The person with the most regrets doesn't score one of their columns. So that's the downside for going for these foul, horrible fish. They might have big values on them, but do you want to be the person with the most regrets at the end? And when you're at the port, you can sell them and buy other rods or other powers. You've got like one-off cards that you can use while you're fishing to do certain things, like re-roll dice, give you dice back. So it's got a real nice kind of dice selection, along with card manipulation, along with, you've got cans of worms where they're used as bait, where you can flip a card and go, nope, don't want that, put it to the bottom, fish somewhere else. It's a really cool, unique game, and it'll probably play in about an hour and a bit, I'd say.
I reckon so, yeah. There's a couple of bits actually I do want to talk about that I think you've missed off that were just really nice design choices. So when you're in the shallows, there's a bigger chance of there being fair fish or whatever, the non-foul version. The deeper out you go, the more chance there is of a foul fish. But on the back of every card is like a little silhouette of how big each fish is.
Okay.
So whether you're shallow, medium, or sort of deep, the full depth, you have a little cheat sheet that tells you, okay, well, if it's a small fish, then it's going to be like a 2 to 4 to catch. If it's a if it's a medium fish, it'll be depending upon the depth you're fishing at and the size. So on the back of every card is just like this little silhouette that tells you how big that fish is going to be. So even before you flip to see what you're going to catch, you kind of have an idea of how much it's going to be to catch it, how much of your energy, which was just a really, I don't know, I've not really seen enough like that.
It's
in
a
other
great
games.
UI design concept. It makes it so easy to look at it and go, that's a big fish. I need that value. Do I risk it? Do I gamble? Oh, I might as well gamble. Go on.
I don't know what it is underneath there, but I know the rough size of it.
Could be foul, could be fair, could be whatever. You don't know what the abilities are going to be when you flip it over or anything like that. But what you do know is the likelihood of how much energy you're going to spend on it.
Yeah.
And the other bit that I quite liked was there were only so many regret cards in the game. So when you start handing out regret cards and you've run out, you decide which player to take regrets off of instead. So if someone's going fair, so that was kind of the route I was going, people knew not to take cards off of me because I wanted as few cards as possible in my hand. So they were like, well, we know you're going fair because that's what all your abilities do. I'll take it off of other people. Whereas if you're going after someone who's wanting foul, you might take all their cards because they're going to score the lower the regret, the less their foul fish are going to score. So there's some really nice manipulation and just sort of just say like UI to tell you what you're going to do and where you kind of need to go. And I think I've made it pretty clear in the past that I'm not a fan of Mr. Wibbles
No.
and Cthulhu stuff and all that lot. But actually, this was un-Cthulhu enough to feel different, but still had all that grim and gruesome and dark. And again, that insanity versus sanity idea worked really well. It's not just, oh, you're insane, you must be more powerful. It was, oh, you're insane, the insane stuff is worth more. Oh, you're sane, the sane stuff is worth more.
Yeah.
And the insane stuff is now worth less to you. So I thought there was just a really nice mix of all of those mechanics together that really told you a lot about what you needed to do in the game.
Is it available now, or is it a...
No, so the sign said coming in July. So I believe they're kickstarting it or crowdfunding it of some description.
Yeah, so it's Tetex Games, and they're going to be going... they're going to be crowdfunding in July. Judson's probably going to be doing an episode with us soon.
Scoop.
Sorry?
Hot scoop.
Hot scoop, yeah, you heard it here. So, yeah, if this kind of intrigues you, there'll be a future episode where we'll do a little bit more on it. Because, to be honest, I was really impressed by it. It's a unique design space. It was really fun. I'm definitely going to be backing it because it feels a slot on my shelf that no other game kind of will be able to fill.
I mean, you had me at rod powers.
Yeah.
To be fair. I mean, I've got no interest in fishing, but when you put like an obscure theme in a board game, I'm all over it, man. I'm like, yeah,
just
sounds
the design
cool.
quality as
Love
well.
it.
These little cylindrical D4, which look like little floats, are amazing to roll
Nice.
as well. So,
Nice.
And then you can buy more dice when you're at the shop as well, so you can kind of get more energy when you go back out. It's good.
Cool.
It's really good.
Dude, yeah, there's just some really nice subtle things
Oh,
in there.
the lifeboat as well, where you can sink your lifeboat, go back to the port instantly, but you get a load of regret for doing it.
Yeah, and obviously the further you go out, the more dice you're spending to go out. So going back to port puts you back in the shallows again. So you don't really want to do that too often. Whereas if you're going fair fish, you only want to fish in the shallows. So you're constantly back and forth to port. And there was just some really nice mix of stuff that I was really quite impressed with. So even if we don't get a future episode or whatever, even if people aren't listening to that or it comes out after or whatever, just go and check it out. It was just such an amazing little sort of collection of thoughts and mechanics that came together really nicely. But yeah, I'm hoping we get to talk to him at some point.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, we're in conversation about it. I'm 90% sure. He said he was a really, really good guy, Judson. I've got a recording anyway where we do a little bit of debrief, which will go on the next episode. But you can tell there's a big passion behind him. And check it out. Tetex Games, Deep Regrets. I think that kind of concludes Friday. There's nothing else that really happened.
It's quite a bit.
Other than Tool were playing.
We
decided...
Was that why everyone was wearing... So I asked the question, why is everyone wearing Tool? And everyone was like, oh, I don't know. And then Saturday morning, I asked the question, why is everyone wearing Dortmund? And someone went, well, it must be football. I thought, well, I gathered that by all the Borussia Dortmund merch everywhere. But yeah, apparently Borussia Dortmund were like in Wembley or something. Weren't they,
right.
on
I don't
Saturday?
know.
Okay.
I don't know what that is. Does it what?
It's a football team from Germany, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Soccer.
everyone in the train station, as I was walking through the train station, was wearing this luminous yellow Borussia Dortmund, and I was like, there's got to be something going on. And when I asked, I guess there's some football, I was like, well, I gathered that.
You are asking board gamers about football, and it's
but
unlikely.
still.
But yeah, I think that there was a Tool concert that kicked out about the same time as it did on
When we left.
When we left, so getting an Uber and getting around was a bit more tricksy.
I'm just glad it didn't happen there, because then I realised the walk to my hotel wasn't as far as I thought it was.
No, it's not that far.
It wasn't far at all,
No.
so I'm glad it saved me money at the end of the day, and it wasn't a bad walk, so I was up for doing it the rest of the weekend. But yeah, Tool were playing.
There you go.
So Saturday,
Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Tim the Tool Man.
I love that show.
Oh dear.
Quality.
Sorry, you're saying about Saturday.
Saturday.
Me and Rob spent the first kind of meeting that we had with Milan Games, met up with Lee, who we kind of met at last year's expo, and we kind of checked out one of his games, Ocean Pods, which I think, Adrian, you did an interview with Lee as well in the last year's expo as well. And I've been kind of intrigued because they're going to release a game called Time Troopers, and I was only saying on a recent episode that we should have more time travel in board games. And then Lee had kind of he listens to the show as well. So hi Lee, and he said, "Here you go. Here's a game. Time travel.
Just make another wish, JP. Make another wish.
Oh, what else can we do? So anyway, time travel.
Wishes, you say?
Jin Davies back. And basically we got to have a game of Time Troopers with Mark, who demoed it for us. It was great, and Mark's got a lot of energy, a lot of passion for the game. Really kind of sold it well. And Time Troopers is basically a card-driven kind of, I'll say on the lighter end, solo only. Which is, it's a unique design choice, but I respect it. There's a lot of solo players out there that would absolutely kind of love that style of game. And the fact that a session will take you 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So it's kind of crunchy enough, but not overstay its welcome. And you can kind of set it up in, I don't know, a minute and off you go. And Lee kind of said he wanted to design a game that you could play if your partner's not into board games. You can play on your own. Even in the same room, they're watching, an episode or something. You can play it. By the time the episode's finished, you're done. So it's not going to kind of take.
That's a nice kind of thought, kind of pattern of deciding the kind of type of game you're making, isn't it?
Yeah. So the idea is that you are a band of time troopers, this organisation that's travelling through time to basically, save the world or something like that. And there are 8 time periods that you will go through, and you have 3 scenarios in each period with a secret one at the end. So 25 scenarios. Don't ask me what the secret one is. I don't know. They wouldn't tell me. I did try and ask, but they said, nope, it's a secret. So you're going to go into feudal Japan, Viking era, Dino era, and Egyptian, way back when, Cleopatra style, stuff like that. And each scenario is kind of unique in the way it plays. One scenario you might be trying to sneak through, a set of guards to find an entrance to a temple. Another scenario might be kind of defeating a big bad Viking. And kind of how it works, your deck's got kind of time cards in, which is a resource that you have. So you spend time to manipulate certain dice rolls that will determine the events that play. So if you don't like... it's a 2. Crap, that's going to be really bad for me. Spend some time and then re-roll and go, yay, it's a 1. Which is quite nice because it's like you're messing around with time, but it is a finite resource. But you also spend time to get your troopers out onto the board, and they all have different powers. So some of these might be more good in stealth, so they can sneak in to places. Some of them are just like big brutes that you can put onto the board and basically beat up the bad guys. And some of them just have powers that can kind of sit at the back and not be deployed into the combat zone and kind of help them manipulate and do all that kind of stuff. So what you'd expect in kind of card games. And Rob played, because Rob's really, really into his card games, and he's actually starting to kind of dabble more in the solo side. And I just rolled the dice. But it looked really cool. As a game, I could completely see what they're trying to do. And you can kind of get side missions that come out, and if you complete them, you get access to the armory, and you can kind of collect kind of different cards that you can put into your deck, that you can construct your deck for the next scenario. So it might be that you get some weapons from a certain era. So it could be a Viking shield or a big katana blade or whatever it might be. So every time you go through the series of scenarios, what you're picking up will change. So it actually makes it kind of replayable. And if 2 people were playing it at the same time, you kind of compare and say, wasn't it cool when you got this thing? And they're like, well, I didn't get that thing. I got this other thing. Oh, that's interesting. So yeah, it's just quite kind of unique in what it's doing, but it's not like super complicated either. So it's very quick, kind of get to the point. And quite like what they're doing. It's very different to their other games. Ocean Pods. I think their new one they were demoing was Shoal.
Shoal, yeah. I saw a lot of copies of Shoal going around, and then since the expo online, I've noticed quite a few people talking about Time Troopers. So I think they're doing right things. Time Troopers is not my kind of game.
No.
It's a solo game that lasts more than 15 minutes, so it's never going to be my kind of game. But oh god,
oh yeah, lucky devil.
Tantra, not for Adrian.
tantrum.
He's not like Sting.
Yeah.
Sting's into his tantric, isn't
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So is he dead?
No,
No, he's just gave it
his,
up.
just-
his hip can't do it anymore.
He's more into the quick orgasms
Yeah, do you
now.
not know about Sting's sex life, Carl?
No, I'm not up to date. I'm
No.
not up to date.
Sorry, Adrian.
It's all right. So it's definitely not my kind of game, but I've seen a lot of people asking about it, and the theme, because it covers so many different periods of history, and because it's kind of that time travel-y, am I allowed to say Stargate? Is that...
I was thinking Quantum Leap.
It has that Stargate-y sort of go back in time and visit an area.
Stargate.
Yeah, so it had all those feels, and I just thought, I think this is going to do something good, because you guys look like you're having fun. When they talked about the mechanisms, that sounded great. And I just thought, because of all those themes in there, someone's going to find a couple of eras of history that they want to go and do these missions at. So I think it's got a lot of potential in there.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, I have an
Tangent.
anecdote.
Yeah, go on.
So
sorry.
Lee shared an anecdote with me, which I just found hilarious. So he basically said, because he listens to the show, he says, I blame you guys for getting a written warning at work. And I was like, what are you on about? I said, I'm really intrigued. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I was listening to your podcast whilst at work. He's an accountant whilst at work. And he walked off, and I don't know, he must have like unplugged his earphones or something. And basically, Whose Turn Is It Anyway podcast was blaring around the office. And it might have been a couple of maybe Davey and Kerley or someone debating Ark Nova at the time. In the middle of, this kind
Quiet
of busy
office.
quiet office where us lot talking about bloody board games. And it kind of outed him as a massive nerd. And he got a written warning for it.
Oh, that's not fair.
No. So we've given him a written warning. So
Did it just say nerd?
nerd alert.
But we also gave him a great idea for a game. So, you win some, you lose some.
Exactly.
But no, Time Troopers, I think, is coming to crowdfund later in the year. The idea is that they're trying to get a good old prototype pretty much ready to rock. Maybe not even a prototype, but nearly final production copy for Aircon, and then basically ready to sell for the next expo. So for next expo, you'll be able to demo it properly and pick it up. Yeah.
Cool.
So I think my first game was actually Kutna Hora on the Saturday.
Bless you.
Yeah, bless me. Yeah. Which also I have an anecdote about work, because I took it to... Well, first of all, let's talk about the game, and then I'll do the anecdote afterwards. So Kutna Hora is set in the town of Kutna Hora. First, when kind of the settlers were coming in, and they were fighting over the mining and the silver that was in Kutna Hora. And we spoke about it before, where it's an action card placement game, but then you usually will do a thing, either build, plot, so where you want to build. There's various ways of getting VPs afterwards. There's kind of a placement bonus. There's a very unique mechanic of placing VPs into a VP selection into a slot, which will then end game score. But the way you do it is during your income turn, you have to slot them in. But they have to be available by paying public houses, which usually give you some kind of benefit, but not a massive one. But they can give everyone benefits when they play buildings next to them. And then there's also mining as another action where you go into and mine for the silver, which kind of has an area control vibe to it underneath. So it's kind of a lot of ways to gain VPs, which aren't obvious at the start. But kind of once you've played it, you start to understand it a little bit. And then it has a very unique stock mechanic as well, with the stocks fluctuating. Obviously, if you build a meat building, a food building, so it can be a bakery or anything else, but it's just got like a nice meat stick on there.
A meat stick.
A meat stick.
That's a sausage, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
The stereotypical
Chicken.
ham joint.
Oh, it's a ham,
Yeah.
isn't it?
But it means there's more of that production in supply, which means that you slide this little slider along. The cost of that resource has gone down. But there's population cards. You might increase the population from it, which means actually your resources maybe goes up in value as well, because there's now more people and there's more demand. So it's kind of very thematic in the way that the stock cards work. And then usually by building that building, you'll move your investment in said stock on your little player board along. When it comes to do income, you gain money equal to how much stock you have of that item and what it's worth now. So you've got to really time your actions with everyone else. Sometimes other people's actions will completely change what you want to do because you're like, oh, they've just manipulated the market and now wood's costing me 3 to build something. So this public building's now going to cost me 30 money. I can't afford to do that. I need to pivot and change what I'm doing. And there's usually always something to do, which is quite nice. But CGE Games gave us a copy of this to play, so we will be talking about it in a future episode in a bit more detail. But I took it with me yesterday to work because I've been slowly trying to get my work colleagues to play some board games, of course. That's one of us. And so one of the meeting rooms, one of the big glass walled meeting rooms upstairs, we started setting up after work, and there were still people like floating around the office. And I remember one of our top SLT members just came in and went, I thought you guys were doing a crossword at first, and I've seen this, and I think this is worse.
I'm really worried about you guys.
I really just want to slam the door on you guys. It was like, okay, yeah, cheers for that. But she was obviously just taking the mick, and then I said, "Oh, we're breaking stereotypes of the computer geeks because we're not playing computer games." And my colleague just went, "We're not breaking any stereotypes."
We're solely in the middle of that stereotype.
But they really enjoyed it. They
Good.
really enjoyed it. Yeah, they thought it was great fun, and it's one of those where if you haven't played a lot of modern board games, you don't really know what the board game space is kind of like, and it's changed so much compared to, you know, the board games you would have played back in the day. So
nice.
Yeah. Kutna Hora, I definitely recommend it.
I loved
it. It's
it.
a really good game. Yeah.
I can't wait to play
Thank
more.
you, CGE, and we'll be talking about it in a future episode.
Thanks, guys.
I bought a couple of sort of dexterity, I guess, kind of games. One was called DroPolta. I'm sure you say it differently in a different accent. It's an oink game.
Nice.
Yeah, it's... I don't know, again, like we say before, like theme tacked on. I don't know why it's about a ghost, but it's about a ghost. You have kind of these tactile little, I don't know, objects in your hand. One's like a big red cube, one's a ring, one's like a little shell, one's allegedly a cookie, but it looks more like a waffle to me, and like a very small key. So you have these held in your hand. You turn over one of the deck of cards, and it's got a picture of, I don't know, let's say the red cube and the ring. So in regular mode, you then have to open your hand, like flick those objects off your hand onto the table without dropping anything else that isn't one of the selected things. And then with your other hand, you grab the ghost. Like I say, why a ghost? I don't know, because ghosts are like objects or something. Well, I don't know. When you've grabbed this ghost, you then get the reward of a little bell, which is like a tiny little bell that you might find on like, I don't know, like a cat's collar or something.
Okay.
So then you put, because ghosts like bells or something, so you put this bell then in your hand with all your other objects and you pick it up and then you put the ghost back down and then you turn another card over and now you have to drop one thing, two things, whatever is on the card. But you don't, obviously the more stuff you have in your hand, the more difficult it is not to drop things that aren't the thing you want. So it's just a silly little quick dexterity game, but it's fun. Or you can play advanced mode where you turn your hand palm face down and you have to kind of drop the things without, so just by sort of feel of, oh, that feels like the
Shuffling
cube,
your
I'm going to
fingers.
try, and yeah. And then I also bought Tinderblocks,
Yeah.
but I bought the Storm edition.
Storm. What's the Storm edition?
Well, it's waterproof, which is not why I bought it, but
For when you go camping.
yeah, because
Or play in the bath.
I'll play in the bath. Yeah, I'm more likely to play in the bath than go camping, in fairness. Well, Kerley's more likely to play in the bath than go camping because he is not a happy camper.
Sure he is.
And this basically is using a pair of plastic tweezers to add... It's a little bit like, I don't know, Men at Work or like reverse Buckaroo, sort of like something like that.
Yeah, I get that.
So yeah, the card might have a picture of the little wooden stick with a red fire cube on it. So then using your little plastic tweezers, you've got to then put the selected items on top of the fire without knocking anything else off. But the Storm edition contains little blue cubes that are shiny, like plastic ones, that are ever so slightly smaller than the other objects. So you can't really balance anything on top of those because A, they're shiny, and B, they're smaller. So you've got to sort of be really judicious in where you put your thing, thinking, right, well, they're going to have to put something else in a minute, but you don't know what it is. So make sure that you've got a little bit more room for your next thing. And whoever tumbles it over loses.
They're out, aren't they?
But I bought the marshmallow edition as well. So it's these little circle, just five little white circles that are marshmallows that can't touch fire cubes because nobody wants burnt marshmallows, right? But they're really difficult to put on because they're quite chunky.
They look like marshmallows.
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah, when you've got the wooden sticks.
In
and
danger
the little,
of eating them.
No,
as well.
perhaps not. No, but when you've got the little kind of wooden twigs and the red and yellow cubes, these little white circles, they're 100% marshmallows.
Yeah,
they really
nice.
are. So yeah, this Storm edition just puts the addition of these little kind of blue cubes in the mix, and it's just really fun.
I enjoy
really nice.
Tinderblocks.
Yeah.
For what it is.
Yeah.
It's good fun.
It took all my willpower to not sing Moana Shiny as soon as you said shiny.
Well done, mate.
Yeah, literally, I'm shaking.
But yeah, for you, that was an achievement. Don't say it. Don't say it. For Christ's sake, don't say it.
Well, I went off and played Rebirth by Mighty Boards, which is the new Reiner Knizia game. So I don't often like the look of a lot of Reiner Knizia games because they've got like an auction or a bidding mechanic, and I'm terrible at that kind of mechanic. So I tend to avoid them like the plague. But Rebirth doesn't have anything like that in it, really. So I really wanted to give it a go. And they had a preview copy there. It's obviously on crowdfunding of some description right now. And they had a demo copy there, and we played the Scotland side, which I believe is like the sort of looser, sort of nicer side. And what you are doing is rebuilding Scotland or Ireland, whichever side you play. And how you do that is you've got like a table of like these little chips on them, and on the one side they're blank, they're just your shape and colour, and on the other side they've either got like an energy symbol, a leaf symbol, or like a house symbol. So you chuck a couple out of the game to start with so that no one's got kind of equal and no one can card count or chip count or whatever. Not that you're going to count 26 chips or whatever, but
Some people are out there that do.
I'm sure there are some people that would be able to, but that kind of thing. And you're going to blind pick one at the end of your previous round basically to look at, and you kind of get to have a look and see where you're going to put it down. And if you put it down in a leaf or energy area, you get a victory point for every one of your leaves or powers it's adjacent to. So if it's on its own, it's worth 1 victory point. If you put it next to another one, that becomes worth 2. If you've got a chain of 3, that becomes 3, etc. And then the housing ones, there's little areas that, and these are all designated areas that have a leaf on the board or a lightning bolt that tells you it can go one of these 2 places. And there's some that are blank where you can put down whatever you like as long as it's next to one of your other colours that's of that type. And then you've got buildings as well, which have either 1, 2, 3 or 4 little houses on it, which is kind of the strength of the little village you're putting down. And there's little village areas. And some of them are just 1 hex, some are 2 or 3 together. And when you fill up that area, it's worth different number of points depending upon if you're first or second in that area based on the size of it. So you're playing this really quite simple game of sort of put a thing down where it says the environment it says you've got to put it on. It reminded me a lot of Kingdom Builder, where you turn over the card and it tells you what kind of terrain you've got to put your little house on. And then there are cathedrals and castle spots. So whoever's got the biggest number of their little hexes or whatever of colours around a castle, they get to put their castle on it. And if I end up with more than you do, I get to knock your castle off and put my castle on, and castles are worth 5 points at the end of the game. And then if you put your little chip around one of the cathedrals, you get to draw an objective card. And some of these objective cards are just, here's 3 points. Some have the most buildings in a 2-hex village, or have the most sort of things around the coast and stuff like that. Really quite simple stuff, but a nice engaging, very light to teach, fairly quick game. We did the teach and the demo in less than an hour, and we got over 2/3 of the way through the game.
Oh, wow.
So I think you could probably do it in somewhere between 45 minutes, an hour and a half, somewhere in that range, I'm guessing. But really quite good, really quite engaging with that sort of light. As I say, it's like Kingdom Builder with a little bit more to it, a little bit more contention and stuff going on.
It looks like Babylonia 2.0.
I've not played, so...
Babylonia's pretty much, you have like different symbols on them.
Yeah.
You've got ziggurats and like just tiles which match the tiles you place.
Yeah.
And you just put them down and try and build your majority round.
Oh,
and
I
get
have
points
seen
for
that.
them. Really good game. I really enjoy it because there's a lot of choice and a lot of kind of strategic moves for such a simple. I'm placing that. That's it.
Yeah, this was it. There's like in the Scotland map, there's like a little sort of 5 or 6 hex island off the top, and they all surround a castle. Well, if you've got majority, you're going to lock it off. It doesn't matter who else goes there. So it got to a point where me and one of the other people playing a demo. We're kind of starting to fight over this little island, and then I was just like, no, I'm locking it off. You're not having it, sort of thing. So even though they won the little village that was up there, I won the castle and I got some bits and pieces together. But yeah, Joel from Devon Dice podcast was playing the demo with me, and everyone, including the people that we didn't know that demoed it, just really enjoyed taking his castles off of him. It was just a pretty good laugh.
Nice.
So yeah, he did. I don't know that he did great. Because everyone just seemed to have it out for him. But he's had great time. I know that he's managed to nab that prototype copy to play a few more games of. So, and it'll be one I'll be interested in looking at as that sort of, as you say, like for Babylonia, by the sounds of things, is very simple choices, very simple rules, but every choice, there's quite a few little choices out there, and you have to decide, am I going after locking down this castle or making this area bigger or an objective card or all those kind of things in there. So, no, I really enjoyed it.
There's a lot of depth to a very simple action.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, I had a great time with it. And not to say it's crowdfunding now, so you can have a look at it there.
Yeah, I really want to play it. That's good.
One of the things that was quite interesting was the board was very cluttered looking, and it got mentioned by a few people, and they went, yeah, we've already cleaned the board up. So the board's not quite as pretty, but it's much easier to read. You can really see where the castles and cathedrals are.
Yeah.
So they've obviously already listened to feedback and started working on that part, which I just found quite interesting, that even mid-crowdfunding, they'd already produced a prototype board of here's what it's going to look like with the cleaner aesthetics.
What was it called?
Rebirth
by Rainer Knizia and Mighty Boards.
So after that, we wandered all the way over to the Teburu booth. And for those who haven't heard of what Teburu is, it's not really a game. It's a...
Komodo.
No, it's not a Komodo. It's a board game electronic kind of system where you can put board games on it. And it's basically intelligent, that it will know where you're putting your kind of minis onto certain spaces because of the magnets that are in basically the board and the system itself. And also it has dice that it has kind of little gyros in it, so it knows what faces have been rolled.
It's like the future.
It's like the future. Yeah, it's kind of like a cross between digital implementation and physical board games. And I've heard about it. It's been knocking about for a good 5 years. And I think Simon were one of the first to announce a game of Zombicide Vegas or something for it. But we managed to kind of jump on a demo of Vampire the Masquerade, Milan Uprising. And as an IP, I've dabbled with Vampire from, I don't know, old Xbox games. I think, Adrian, you've actually probably played the RPG or have dabbled in
RPG
in the system.
Yeah.
And I think Davey and Rob
played the computer game.
Yeah, played the computer game or never heard of it. That was kind of the scale that we had around there. And for those that don't kind of know, you have these different vampire factions and clans, and the idea is that you've kind of got representation from pretty much all of the clans that are all coming together in this kind of anarch faction to try and overthrow the prince of Milan. The vampire prince is a bit of a knob.
Sounds like it, doesn't he?
Yeah, and it's like an area control game on the board. You've got different districts of Milan, and you start off in one of the corner in a haven. Quite story-driven. So there's an app that's literally driving kind of what's going on, and you all play as different characters. Now, this was probably the best bit for me, because it's kind of like, we all just, who do we want to pick? And then when you pick your character, you just take the mini, and then you have the phone in front of you, so everyone's got their own phone, which is your player board, and obviously it's interactive and it's changing things up. And you select your character, like Street Fighter 2 style, and then you put the mini on, say that's me, and then it recognises it, and off you go. So Davey picked this 70s Lothario type character. It's the only way I can describe it. Had a big tash, shades,
Massive stomach.
Yeah,
nice pot belly.
Yeah, you picked that.
Adrian, shades on
with
a
the
pink
roll,
shirt.
with the roll neck.
With the roll neck.
Big
Yeah,
shirt
yeah,
over the
great.
top.
A cigar.
Yeah.
So you went for that character. Adrian, you went for a Nosferatu
Yeah,
style.
so highly disfigured,
Yeah.
sort of not. Typically, they're not allowed to be seen in public at all, where vampires can kind of get away with it because they normally look humanish.
Human, yeah.
Nosferatu can't. They're all sort of disfigured and a little bit sort of. They look almost like burnt sort of thing.
Yeah,
don't
you were
they?
like buff. Like, you
But
were a
then
buff
I was the character that kicked ass.
And then me and Rob went the other direction. We went, we're going to go sexy. So I went for a sexy Bruja, I think, as the faction. And Rob just went ultra sexy vampire. Like, what would you imagine a sexy vampire to look like? Rob
Kate
went all in.
Beckinsale from
Yeah,
Underworld.
but in a floaty
But
dress.
put her in a floaty
okay.
dress,
Yeah,
in
like a ball
silk
gown.
ball gown
Yeah.
sort of looking thing. Yeah.
And then off we went into Milan, just kind of doing things and investigating. And we come across some dogs, and I ended up ripping
The
their heads off.
stories were pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like, basically, Adrian ended up chasing a dog around
Yeah.
the park, trying to get this dog for the owner. I ended up in a taxi, in
Limo.
a limo, doing sordid things, apparently, with this driver. Well, making him think I was doing sordid things to get money. It was. I had no choice. It was just like this is the scenario that's happening because it's obviously an adult theme.
It was like you're walking
Vampire
on the
Nights.
street, and then
Yeah.
the limo pulls up with a very rich billionaire, and
Rob was meeting up with a homeless guy trying to chase the homeless king or something. Or
Yeah.
other, and I can't remember what.
I
Went and helped the dog.
I ripped their heads off.
Yeah. And then you guys ended up actually doing the quest stuff, and I just got shipped off to the middle of nowhere, just doing nothing apparently. Just
Failing to secure resources repeatedly with bad dice rolls. Yeah.
But it's like really immersive.
It was very
Because-
thematic, wasn't it?
Yeah, because of the way it's brought together, the music, the narration, the fact that when you move around the board, you're literally moving it from one district to another, and then your app's reacting to that, saying that's an action point that's spent, that's an action point that's spent, etc. And
The background changes. So if you move from one district to another, it shows you by
Yeah.
changing the background on. So you have a central iPad and then
Yeah.
each individual phones, and on the iPad, wherever your character moves, it changes the background on the iPad to match where you've just moved to. There's a whole raft of little immersive sort of features on there. And our teach was after the setup was, okay, off you go.
press a button. Because the
don't
game
need
teaches you.
Yeah, so would you say it was the game that was great, or the system was great, or the marrying of the two made the whole experience good?
I
Yeah,
think it has to be both, doesn't it?
I think for me it was both, and obviously it's our first time interacting with the system, so it's like, ooh,
Yeah.
this is new. Rolling the dice, and the app goes, good luck, well done, you succeeded, or no, you failed, and oh, by the way, you have this re-roll ability that, oh yeah.
Yeah, don't forget you have a re-roll.
Oh, that's really
Just such
cool,
nice
isn't
little
it?
touches like that to go, okay, fine. Or would you like to spend a zone 5 resources to get an extra dice sort of thing? All those little things that are added in there that in a board game you would know is there, but you could forget about quite easily. It was reminded really simply on a screen.
Yeah, and it's just, you kind of pick up allies and ghouls along the way. But yeah, I think I was intrigued by the system anyway. I quite like what it's doing. It's like any of these things. It's how many games are available on it, and actually how much are the games to play.
What kind of price point are you talking about? Because it sounds like when you were talking about it at the actual expo, I was thinking immediately of something like Mansions of Madness could work really well with that. So it knows where you are, it knows what you're doing. I mean, okay, that works pretty well anyway with an iPad, but it'd be super cool on a integrated
it's
board.
dropped a lot in price because I remember I checked it out when we first saw it, which is the very first expo I think we went to. It was there. And I think then it was like sitting at around £300-400, whereas now they've obviously been able to get production down quite a lot. And I think it was with a game, it was about 180.
Maybe somewhere around that, yeah.
I think it was
And
around there.
I think each extra game was about £50, wasn't it, Rich?
Yeah.
Okay, that's about the same price as a regular game then, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's not too bad.
like there's the big king guy in Vampire the Masquerade sits on this sort of like plinth that's actually got electronics in it. and each
Hockey
game,
puck, isn't it?
yeah, each game will come with a different miniature to sit in it that
okay.
sort of looks at the center of the board, and it will do different things depending upon which game you're playing with. The bit for Vampire the Masquerade that got me was Rob was like, so how long does the game last then? And he said, oh, the campaign lasts 40 to 50 hours. Yeah, but what about the game? Well, it's 40 to 50 hours because like a video game, it's like an RPG video game. There's no start, stop,
You can
act
save
1,
whenever.
act 2. You just stop where you stop and pick up again.
And
So
it
it's
knows.
one continuous story for 40 to 50 hours, which for a board game is unique really as well.
Yeah.
There's not often you get... It's normally like Dungeon 1,
Yeah.
Dungeon 2 or whatever. It's not here's a continuous story that it will keep track of for you, which I think is quite a unique selling point for it as well.
Because usually it's a nightmare trying to set up if you did it midway through or save that point. Whereas this is just going to go, it's on the app.
Well, there's not that many bits, is there?
Yeah,
Like
it's
you've got the
just your
minis,
characters.
you've got the dice, and you've got the board that sits on the system. And I'm trying to remember the play
There's
There's
a
the
cubes
cubes and
that
stuff.
tell you where the
Cubes.
influence was for the different factions.
And some
then,
tokens.
And there were some cardboard tokens that's like, oh, don't forget you've got an investigation over here, which is a reminder for you, but you can actually view it on the map.
Yeah,
And like any online RPG, it was like, here's all your missions you've got to do. Just tap on your little phone and it'll bring up your missions. So there was loads of like traditional computer RPG stuff mixed in with what I'd call traditional board game RPG stuff. I thought it was really well melded.
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed it.
I would
does sound
definitely
cool.
play it.
Yeah, I think I would, and even though I kind of said I wouldn't do campaigns on a previous episode, but yeah, it intrigued me. I thought
It was
I had
like a
really
beer
good
and
time.
pretzel game there. Like the
Yeah.
stories that came out in that brief play we had.
We had a
really,
laugh.
'cause we played for about 40 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
To an hour. And already it was just stupidity at the table because it was just like, we were
Yeah.
obviously trying to role play our characters a little bit as well and be like, well, what would I do? I'd be doing this. Adrian going around trying to fight everyone.
That's what I did.
So it was good fun. Yeah.
If Rob had rolled better, we would have won against
He
the last
sucked,
boss.
didn't he?
Yeah.
Absolute sucked.
We got all these positives, and then there's some minus numbers, and Rob just rolled all the minus ones. So it's like, okay.
And
I
guess-
wasn't even involved and
No,
I didn't
you
get
were.
blamed, luckily. So
I guess there's no cheating either, is there? Because you're rolling
No.
a thing and it knows.
So there is intentionally or unintentionally, if you take your character off the board and put them back, it goes back to the previous screen, so you can see what your options are and then do it. But if you do the action, there's no going backwards. There's no like, oh, we'll have a cheeky reverse.
Oh, there is.
Is
He did
there?
say there's an undo
Oh, okay.
feature.
I
Yeah,
didn't think there was.
Yeah, he showed us in the end.
Oh,
You can undo stuff.
Oh, that's
Fair
okay
enough.
there because I didn't realise when that space that I kept doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It was always the same events where I was. So I needed to move.
Yeah.
But I just had to keep doing the same things, which were go to a restaurant and have a fist fight. And
Yeah.
I was just doing absolutely side quests. I was like literally the side NPC in the
Yeah.
corner.
He just ran off.
doing lots of random stuff.
He took an underground train, went to the other side of the map, and we never saw him again. God knows what he's up to. Whereas the rest of us all stuck together, tried to do the main quest. There we go.
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
on quest.
Fun.
I think the main selling point for this is if you're a board gamer, but you've got people around the table who don't want to care about remembering rules or like it's like that D&D thing, right? So some people play D&D and they'll just role play the character and they don't care about any of the rules. Some will know I've got 60 foot of dark vision and all this kind of stuff that they'll remember. And I think that's the kind of difference. The people who just want to play the game and don't really care too much about the rules, they just want to level up and hear the story. They are going to absolutely love this kind of game because it takes so much of that bookkeeping out of board games. So I think that feels like the main crowd that I think this might capture.
I'd agree.
Yeah, it is a beer and pretzel game. It's like that Friday night, invite your mates around, have a laugh with it, and not have to take it too seriously, or as you say, remember any rules. And there's no prep work that's needed, and like D&D or
Rock
anything
up
like
and
that.
play.
Just rock up and play.
Yeah, check it out.
So we went straight from that to Luthier.
Oh God.
So, yeah, it does deserve that, but I think we need to give it a context first. So, Luthier is a game about making instruments. So, Luthier's typically made string instruments. In this game, you're making percussion, wind instruments, etc. They've just called it a name to give it a bit of extra zhuzh, I think. And it's by Pavison Games. I asked him about 4 times. We then did an online social post, and I asked him again because I'd forgotten. It's one of those two. So, and it's coming to Kickstarter soon. And the game, I think, has a lot of potential.
The game's good fun. My sigh of "oh God" was nothing to do with the game.
Yeah, which was
it was just we had an unfortunate teach, I think, and I'm not even sure it's the teacher's fault in some regards, but he liked to waffle, and then there was a lot of going back to the book for rules, and then they did so Nucleum did the similar thing when Paul did it, but it was fine then because it was a step-by-step run through. It gives you a little brief introduction to the rules, what every player is about to do, because there's a lot of moving parts, and then you go. But what this guy did and what Paul didn't do was take so long with each individual step that when the first hour had gone, and it was an hour and a half teach of what we got to play, we hadn't even had a go that was off the rails yet. So
you must have been climbing the walls, Davey.
I was rubbing my face in. I was actually getting angry at some points, but I was keeping stum. I was there I was basically kept going, so I'll be doing this, and he's like, no, we'll be doing this, and this is exactly the same thing that I was just then doing, and I was just like, oh my god, I felt the anger rising in me, but it was fine.
So if you can't
remember, there was a couple
of
things where he said like, I don't know why keyboards are percussion. It's because it's a percussion instrument. It is a percussion instrument, but. Anyway,
your ADHD just firing off at all cylinders. Just so uncomfortable.
When we eventually got to free reign of the game, I think it was actually really good fun. It had a nice Lacerda type economy wheel.
Yeah, so you've got that flow to the game, right? You have to go and get patrons, and you have to go and get all your materials, and then you have to go and get the design, and you can repair some items in between. Because if you wait too long to make the instrument, your patrons will bugger off. So all of those kind of things made this flow of, right, you're getting a patron, you're getting the raw materials, you're getting the design, you're going to make it, and then you've got like a little area control bit, a bit like in Lacrimosa, where you've kind of got a bit of area control at the bottom where you're trying to sort of
in the pit
gain benefits by building certain instruments. And there's the usual thing of you've got different strength workers. So you start off with like a 5, a 3 and a 1, except for your special power, Davey, was you start off with a 2 as well. Which came to us all by the second round anyway. And then you've got like these additional, I'm going to call them support workers for, that's probably
apprentices.
Apprentices, that's a better term, that you can add on to it, which adds one to the strength of your worker and different strengths. So if you ever had anything over strength 4, it gave you a Brucey bonus. And if you ever, when you then placed out all your workers, each person in turn order selected an area. So if you were going first, you could select an area that you wanted, but no one else would want to go first. And kind of they would lose out a bit of their turn, wouldn't they?
It was a unique kind of bidding action where everyone put their workers out and...
Secret bids,
face down. And then when the action's selected, you flip them all over, and then the highest value gets to go first. So they get the first choice. And none of the resources are refreshed. But then the other person who's also there has to then have their action there. But there's always a secondary action on each space, which is resources. So if you do get caught kind of a bit early, then you can always take resources. So there's always something you can do, even though it's not the most optimal thing to do. So,
yeah. And I think it's got a nice flow to it. I think was there 7 turns on the board. It had a turn count, and I think it was about 7 turns. And so unfortunately, we only got to the end of turn 2. Which, speaking to other people, they got to the end of turn 3, and I think that would have given us a little bit more to sort of see.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really unfortunate. The guy came across quite nervous and pretty unprepared. And so it was 25 minutes set up, then 45, 50 minutes first turn. The 2 people with us at the table still didn't quite understand some of the rules. So I think
I don't blame them.
Which I don't blame them. I think we were doing the thing we quite often, well, you can do this, or if you went that, maybe you need an instrument, or sort of trying to hint as what they could do, and okay, fine, and kind of helping them along a little bit. But yeah, it was just frustrating because I think there is a really strong game in there with that, as you say, like that Lacerda-like flow of needing to get things in certain orders and being able to kind of be a little bit mean without being too mean.
Yeah. You had a nice little engine you could build with your patrons, as well as your instruments or achievements as well. You had little achievements out which would give you set benefits. So, but the earlier you go from, you get less point VPs, but you still get the effect, which is quite nice. So little powers that you can get. So it does. I really liked what was there, and I think getting a full play of that's going to be really good. And you have a nice spin on other. Well, it's not really, because it's not really an engine builder. It's not really a bidding game. It's kind of a little bit of everything, but not too much of either.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good summary. It certainly interested me to want to play the full game of it. So it kind of did some of its job. It's just, as I say, it's just a bit unfortunate.
Just need a bit more time with it.
Yeah, as I say, most people seem to, that I spoke to afterwards, got to turn 3. So they had the pre-done turn, which showed you all the actions. Like
that should have only taken about half an hour.
Whoever wrote the script did a great job of making sure that you got to see all the actions without feeling like someone was behind the curve, because you were all at the end of the first turn in a place where you could go and do something, but you didn't necessarily want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I just would have liked to have seen turn 3 as well, personally. Yeah. But yeah, I think there's something there that I want to give a go. Again, for
100%.
Looked really pretty.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
Noticed that at the preview show. I was like, ooh.
And he kept, they had like a little conductor stick so that you can point to a little baton so that you could point at things. And he kept taking it off for me. I kept picking it up and he kept taking it off for me.
Well, we asked because they had like a much posher version than the little cardboard one. And we were like, does that come as an extra? And they were like, well, as it's on crowdfunding, maybe we'll see what's on crowdfunding, shall we? And I was like, yay, we get a little baton.
Yeah, no one's going to take it away from you this time.
So on my Saturday was mostly walking the halls to start with. Kerley was playing the Arc Nova tournament.
Yeah.
And I played a game with Tambo, Chris and Josh, and we played Tiny Epic Western, which I really, really liked. I was a bit kind of apprehensive to start with because I played Tiny Epic Dinosaurs and was like, meh. But Tiny Epic Western, really liked it. Really, really liked it. The minis are kind of cool. There's like a slight sort of poker hand kind of thing going on, and a resource collect some stuff so that you can get something at the end. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Didn't buy it, haven't bought it, but yeah, would consider doing so. I didn't think I liked any of the Tiny Epic games, but actually really, really liked this one.
Nice. Yeah, I know Tambo's raved about it. Talked about it on the previous episodes as well. And what I remember from it and what I've seen, because we nearly played it once at Full Board Gaming, and then we packed it away and played something else because I think it was a player thing, was the little bullet dice.
Yeah, little six-sided little...
Six-sided
like a pen.
bullets.
It looked like a very, very almost fully sharpened pencil right down to the knob, and you roll it and
you roll the bullets.
It's great.
Cool.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
So on Saturday, we do our usual book into Las Iguanas in Resorts World.
Which you need to do pretty early, right?
I mean, we left it a bit late, so we had to go for a 4:30 booking. But it still worked out quite well.
I think that was quite good, actually, though.
I was ready for it.
Yeah.
I was ready for it. I was knackered.
Yeah.
And all the halls were rammed on Saturday. So busy. I think it was the busiest it's ever been. And we escaped early to get into Las Iguanas to have a bit of bit of Mexican style food, and it was always good fun. We ate a lot.
South America.
It's got a bit of this, bit of that. Yeah. And yeah, we ate a lot. We had a few cocktails. Davey went to pretty much sample the entire tapas menu.
I regretted it.
Regretted the bill. Definitely regretted the bill. We had a little own game going on, which is who has spent the most money at the table. Davey won.
Yeah. 60 quid on
60 quid on one meal.
Jeez.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It was good.
Legend.
I enjoyed it.
I hope it was.
Yeah,
I'm glad it was.
He was like a pig in shit, just eating all of these different meals. This is great. And then got landed with the bill and went, whoops.
Too easy to do a tapas. It's like, oh yeah, 7 quid for this little thing. You're like, oh yeah, I have 5 of those.
I don't think I've ever thought that. I think I thought I'll have 3 of those.
So that was good fun. And then, we caught Board Game Jimmy and his family on the way out. And that was just nice catching up with him. And that's the first time I saw him at the expo. I mean, big place, lots of people that you miss, right? But yeah, it's nice catching up with Jimmy, getting his take on things. So yeah,
there we go.
And epic churro eating.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, epic.
We ordered 50 churros.
We did. I mean, there's quite a few of us at the table. 9.
9. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 5 churros each ish. It's quite
great.
A lot in it.
It was great.
It's become a bit of a thing now, because we did it last year as well.
Yeah.
I think not everyone quite ordered churros last year, whereas this year everyone was just like, yes, we're all having 5 churros.
Grand churros, 10. Bosh, share them. and then you just basically like dogs that eat hot dog sausages and just straight in. Don't chew.
With a bit of dulce de leche.
Yeah, and a bit of chocolat.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go into a bit of a sugar coma.
Yeah, a
afterwards.
churro coma.
It's like, oh my God. But no, always good fun. So yeah, we wandered back and we managed to get a very sneaky game of Civolution, which is not even at the show at all. And it's because Paul Grogan has basically an advanced copy because he's going to do some work on it on his channel. And we've been trying to play this most of the weekend. And for one reason or another, it hadn't quite happened because Marcus is the only one that's played it. And we kind of wanted him to do the teach and not kind of play the game from scratch and read a rule book because that's just dire. And I hate doing that at conventions. So we managed to basically get the game set up on the Saturday. Marcus taught the game and then kind of had to, bless him, he had to kind of bail on the game. And then Paul basically switched seats with him. So we kind of half a game with Marcus and half of it with Paul, which is kind of worked out in the end for us. Yeah, because we got to play it, bless him. So Civolution is a game designed by Stefan Feld and published by Deep Print Games, I believe. And it's got a kind of wacky, unique theme, but I kind of dig it. So it's kind of like you are these higher beings, these higher deities, and you're all participating in an exam to develop a civilization from kind of scratch to get the most victory points so that you pass the exam and then you can actually do it for real. Okay, so in the middle you've got this map board, which is all the different territories of, like, you know, the plains, the swamps, the mountains. And some of them actually have quite nice little dual layered segments on there, which is cool. And your player board looks like an absolute cluster because, like, you're kind of looks like steps, but you kind of open it up from the middle.
What, as in the band with the music?
Yeah,
or
yeah. You got H and Lee and other people in there. No, but it's like a staircase in terms of how it looks. But you open it.
Did you just forget Lisa Scott Lee?
I did.
Disgraceful behaviour.
I know. And go on. Who's the other two then? Faye.
Yeah.
And
how do you know any of
Claire.
these?
Claire. Yeah, that's it. There you go. Hold on.
She's the one with the nose that twitches.
He's got those cemented into the back of his mind.
Loved it.
That's the reason why. It's like a tiered system, isn't it?
Yeah.
But so if you think when someone stands on a podium, it's like a podium that's stuck together.
Yes.
You've got the tiered system either side.
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of open it up and then kind of tiers up at each edge. And then when you look at it and you go, oh my God, this looks absolute bonkers. Like the first time you look at this player board, you're like, geez. And I was just like in heaven because, like, I love a player board. It's one of the best
player boards I've ever
seen.
I
love a player board. It's just fantastic. You've got little dual layer bits going on. And on the right side, you've kind of got, you have all of your actions which correspond to 2 dice values. So you've got your dice of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and each action on there will need a 1 and a 2, or 1 and a 3, or a 3 and a 6, whatever it might be. And they're all the things that you can do in the game, and it looks like a control panel in a computer. So you have my favourite action, procreate, which is a 5 and a 2. Always remember that. And that's how your tribes basically get more tribe members, and you can migrate them moving around the map. You can research different kind of cards that you have that you can kind of play into the player board, and again they kind of work on a tiered system. So the first card you play ideally will be in that tier 1 row, and if you fill that entire row you'll get bonuses, and the higher that you can get these cards played, the more victory points you'll get from them. But the limit is, if you play like a brown technology card, you can only play technology cards on top of it, which then the requirements become harder and harder as the game goes on. So yeah, you've got all these actions on the right, and on the left you've got some basically a load of resource pools that you put these generic tokens in. Again, I don't know how many there are. There's 24 or something, maybe even more.
What's that? How many options there are?
Resources.
It's 3 by
6.
6, I think.
It is.
There you go. Yeah, math that one out, listeners. And then you've got coins.
18.
18, thank you.
Yeah, it's the rarity, isn't it? So
Yeah.
the first tier is the most common, the second tier is
Yeah.
going to be the rarer, and the third tier
That's
is going
it.
to be the rarest.
And you've got money and you've got food in there as well. And so really the kind of game has some callbacks to your Castles of Burgundy, and the fact that you're rolling all your dice and you're putting them into the dice pools, but you're selecting 2 of the dice of their values to activate certain actions, and you can spend ideas similar to like workers. You can nudge the dice values up or down, because I really need a 5 and I haven't got a 5. So you can kind of do that, and then when you kind of get to a certain amount of dice left in your pool, you can kind of do a reset action, which then allows you to get your dice back and all sorts of cool shenanigans. But I mean, there's a lot going on in this game. It's your first play is here's the sandbox, off you go, and you're like, I have no idea. You genuinely like, I have no idea what the hell is going on.
There's like very, very vague avenues where it's like you score some points for this at the end, or at the end of the weather event card, if you've done this prerequisite, you get this bonus. But you might just look at those and go, nope, not doing any of that.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to necessarily. You can try and maybe score points for the later one.
Mm-hmm.
It literally, you look at it and you go, I don't know what to do. Luckily, we had the starting decks where they kind of give you another avenue as well. And you kind of think, well, this looks like I need to be doing this. So mine was pretty much, looks like I need to be building tech, and I'm the tech guys. Didn't even touch most of my people were starving on, like, lying down on the board.
Yeah, you're not feeding them.
But they were super clever and they had computers.
Yes, exactly. They had loads of tech keeping them safe. But
yours are that. Mine I mutated them to have beaks and humps. So they were quite weird. So it's, like I say, it's really whimsical, and that you can mutate your civilization to get benefits in there. So you can just imagine, like, I think we talked about it as a series, the robots one on Netflix, Love, Death, Robots or something. Mm. One of the episodes is like there's a civilization in the freezer.
Yeah, I love that episode.
It's kind of like that, where you've got this micro civilization that you're just messing around with, and you can take it into different directions. And some of it's completely bonkers, and some of it's pretty cool.
I don't know why. It really reminded me of like Black and White, but minus the big monster.
Yeah.
It's like you have that control over your civilization.
Just messing around with it.
Kind of like, you're pulling and stretching and seeing what happens with.
Yeah.
Is it weird that it reminded me of the civilization that grows on Bender in Futurama as he gets shot into space?
That's it. They all have wars with each other and stuff.
That was exactly what it reminded me of.
That's exactly the theme of it in that sense. And I think it's fair to say, like, me and Davey just enjoyed it, like, immensely. And I think
loved it.
Adrian, you played maybe less so.
I went on a weird journey with this game. So I'm not the biggest fan of Civ games or sandbox games, but I've liked Stefan Feld. So I was like, okay, I want to give it a go. And then it was like, okay, here's your workers. Okay, cool. They're not workers, they're ideas, but that's what they are. They're Castles of Burgundy workers. And here's your 22 combinations of dice that you select from, and they all do completely different actions. There's not really much crossover between them. And I was like, okay, fine. So I can see from my cards, I'm supposed to do migration, but through areas that other people already migrated through. So I kind of got to follow people, and I've got to do exploration, which seemed a little bit counterintuitive, but not a problem. I'll go after that. I also need vision improvements, and I only had one of them. So to get another vision improvement, which I needed for like half the cards in the starting deck, I needed another one, which is 2 6s. So first roll of the dice, I roll a single 6. No problem, I'll go and find other stuff to do. Second roll of the dice, no 6s. Third roll of the dice, no 6s. Fourth roll of the dice, 1 6 again. And I was just getting increasingly frustrated by the lack of ability to roll. And it's like, okay, fine, I'm not going to go after these 6s then. I won't bother with cards. I'll just not do cards. I'll do migration instead. But then when you have leaned into that a little bit, suddenly you stop rolling those dice. And we found out about a third of the way through the game there are more options to mitigate some of this.
Focus is one.
So the focus thing, well, I hibernated for 2/3 of the game, it felt like. So, because if you go to sleep, you get a focus, which is just a dice. So you spend 2 dice to get a dice.
Of any number.
Yeah. There's also planning as well.
Which is the bit we discovered.
Yeah.
Like a third of the way through the game. And I hadn't listened to it as you were explaining to it, because I was nose deep in a 6-page manual of what everything was. I just felt like everything I tried to do, I didn't roll the dice for. And with Castles of Burgundy, I feel like you got an out. I feel like, and with Merlin, when we played Stefan Feld, I felt like there was always an out. With this, I felt like I very rarely had an out that wasn't massively wasteful of the resources of dice I had.
So I did see also there's that other space where you get if you upgrade it a couple of times, you get a lot of ideas.
Yeah, but you've got to be able to get to the upgrade, which is not necessarily easy. And quite often, to get that upgrade to change your dice more, you're sacrificing a lot of other upgrades that you might need to do your path. So
it needs to follow.
You can't do them all.
And
because they're orange cards as well. That upgrade spot was orange cards.
Yeah.
So if it plays into the orange card strategy you're doing,
which I had a couple of those.
Great.
So it was one of these things where I can absolutely see this being a massive game. But like your sort of playthrough of Barrage, I think some people will bounce off it hard because they had a really rough time of one game. And it might put them off. Like, it's kind of put me off, I'll be honest, of playing more of it. I keep telling myself I probably should give it another go. But, you know, when you're like, I was, by the end, and again, it happens with these games, it's a 3.5 hour game.
It's a long game.
And I was miserable an hour and a half into it and just sat there for 2 more hours being, quite frankly, miserable. I don't think I made any bones about it at the time.
No, we could tell, mate.
I was tired and
Grumpy.
not enjoying a game that I felt like I had no way out of. So I think you can see you guys absolutely loved it. I've heard nothing but glowing feedback about it. I think I just had a rough game of rolling the wrong dice.
Yeah. I think also because we had the starter decks, it was leading you down one avenue, and maybe you didn't want to go down that avenue, and maybe it's not how you'd want to play the game. So in some aspects, I think maybe those starting decks could be a little bit detrimental to the game in some aspects, and because they said otherwise what they do is you deal out two of each card and then you pick one of each of those,
try and link
as
your
starter,
strategies,
and then that you can tailor your strategy that way instead. And to me, that's more appealing because I was really enjoying it, but I was stuck down my strategy, which seemed quite strong in the end.
Well,
but at the start, when you guys were flying off of VPs and I was kind of really behind, I was like, how am I meant to then gain VPs? But it was all in the end game for me. But
I mean, you had a strategy. I was just pushing buttons, man. That's why I came last. Because I was literally just, I've enjoyed just messing around.
It's what I was up for doing. To start with, I was like, I'll just push a few buttons, and then within like a few turns, I was like, okay, I've got some. I don't understand everything on the board. I just know where I need to head now, roughly, and just couldn't achieve it. So again, I think it's one of those things. I think I could probably play it again and enjoy it more.
Yeah.
But I bounced so hard off it this first time that it has put me off a little bit from giving it another go. But I don't think that should stop anyone from giving it a try. If you like those sandbox, it's just you've got to get your head around those 22 different options.
Yeah, it's right your first playoff kind of thing.
Fairly quickly, I think, in order to make use of that first game. Otherwise, it just does what I don't like, which is here's a first game.
Yeah.
You've got to get to the end of it to understand it. I don't think, because we got pretty good. We were missing a few options here or there, but we knew enough to, I think, get something out of the game. But yeah, you've got to have your head in it to understand those 22 actions fairly.
I think understanding the actions was kind of the easy part. You do this thing, that happens, that's fine. It's understanding why I'm doing this, or where am I going from here. That was the harder bit, and that wasn't until I was halfway through, and then I went, okay, I know what I'm doing now. This is what I want to be doing, and pumped that technology thing. But
I felt the same about White Castle. I was all the way through the end of that game and still didn't really have any understanding of why I was doing any of it.
Yeah,
to be honest.
At least that's only 9 actions.
Yeah. It didn't take me 3 hours.
No, but for me, Civolution was my game of the weekend.
Oh, cool.
Hands down.
I'm into buying it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to pick it up, but I don't know if you can call it game of Expo when technically it's not really out, and we just managed to sneak a copy to play. But I think it's due out in Essen. So eyes on that one for me. So very quickly, whilst we were playing that, Rob had managed to have a nice, relaxing game of Bagger Dungeon 2. And he just said, if you say anything, I know I'm not on the podcast tonight, but if you say anything, just say thank you to Gunpowder Studios who had gifted the game, and we passed it to Rob because it's basically Rob. He loves dungeon crawlers. So we passed it to him, and he managed to get a game of it, and he said, I bloody loved it. And he had a nice, relaxing Saturday. So I just wanted to highlight that. And,
Oh, we also got to play Ashes.
You did? Yeah, you finally played it.
Yeah, we finally played Ashes.
Yeah.
And I had some weird...
Smashed him, didn't you?
I had some weird discard deck, and it just seemed to counter his deck. So I was like, oh, you know that really powerful card you got? Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, that thing, and it's gone.
I've milled your deck, you're dead.
Yeah, I've milled your deck, you're dead. But yeah, it was really good. It's very remnant of Magic, which I played a lot of, and I love. Don't play it anymore because it's a bit too convoluted. But
there you go.
There you go. I just thought I'd throw that in there as well because he always says, I always take Ashes and never get to play it. We got to play Ashes.
Finally got to play it. So,
Sunday. So, the very last day of the expo.
Yeah.
And we're coming to a close of the episode.
Sure. Got a few games left to talk about.
In about 7 hours' time.
I think with Sunday, a lot of people wait till Sunday to buy stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just the idea of that terrifies me because by that point, I've really decided what I want. And if then you can't have it, oh, God, it doesn't even bear thinking about. So if I've decided I want something, I'll just buy it then. And then maybe regret it later on. But then that's tough, isn't it? Far better doing that than really knowing you want something and then you can't.
Yeah, in some places mark down first thing on a Sunday. They kind of take stock of what stock they have and they'll mark down first thing on a Sunday. So everyone's whipping around first thing on a Sunday, and then the alternative of that is some people leave it almost to like the last 45 minutes, an hour of the expo, and then they start marking down. And so if you're wanting those bargains, you've got to keep a real eye out for which one's doing which, or, some places are selling off like if they've got a swanky demo table, they're selling that off to people and like display stock and all that kind of stuff. So there are some bargains to be had. You've just got to keep your head on a swivel to keep looking for them and ask the questions. Is this going with you, or can I buy it off you? All those kind of things.
A lot of the exhibitors don't want to take the stock back with them.
No,
because it costs them to ship it back. So,
and some are more like quite a few people just don't mark down at all. So some are really happy to take it back with them as well. So it really is. You just got to go around each vendor almost at this point. I don't think I was hoping to find if there was a bit of a system or something I could see. But there's not. You've really just got to wander around them all and keep a track of who's doing what, I think, if you're looking for a bargain.
We bought T-shirts mostly. So there's a really good company called Lonely Red Planet, which is pretty much where all of Kerley's T-shirts are from. Right. So this is a guy who does his own kind of designs of kind of fandom. So Kerley buys all the Lord of the Rings ones. Yes, I think he bought 7 or 8 last year. I think he bought 6 this year. So he just only wears though. Yeah,
collect the whole set.
Yeah, and they bring out he brings out new kind of designs every time. So there's a couple that you might not have got already. And we also bumped into Matt from Shirts and Merch.
Yeah,
and
nice.
His T-shirts are fantastic. I can vouch for their quality because we bought some at the 24-hour marathon. In fact, JP's wearing his Anachrony one right now. And he's a really, really lovely guy. So hi, Matt, if you're listening. Kerley's bought a really cool Beyond the Sun T-shirt from him.
Nice.
So he sort of made the order there, paid for it, and then Matt will ship it over.
I caught Matt as well at the show, and he had a nice Faraway T-shirt with the little dude on the front.
Yeah,
I thought that was quite nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he designs all his own shirts, and they're always they're like, I would say, like stealth geek.
Yes.
So if you know, you know.
Yeah. If you don't know, you wouldn't
know
clue.
this. Yeah, you wouldn't think that it's the one I've got, the Arc Nova one, I built a zoo with like little sort of the coloured
the tags
on it.
Yeah.
That's not going to make any sense to anybody, but it's not like, what's that about? But if you know, you're like, oh, you play Arc Nova, like you would totally.
Or you go, oh, you like zoos.
If I wasn't repping our Whose Turn Is It Anyway T-shirt, I would have been wearing that.
You're right.
Yeah. I like zoos.
I love zoos.
So yeah, it was really nice catching up with Matt. So yeah, strongly recommend his stuff, shirts and merch. I think he's got an Etsy.
I think he does. Yeah.
But it's really good.
We got to play World Order in the morning, and
that's the Hegemony expansion, right?
Yeah,
Hegemony.
It's a sequel.
Hegemony. How are we saying it?
Hegemonic Project Games is the company that does it. I'm going to use that saying of it because everyone corrects me the wrong way of.
Well, I think Americans are hegemony and Europeans are hegemony.
Yeah.
So I like hegemony.
Hibbity hoo. So we played World Order.
Bibbidi bobbidi boo. Sorry, Davey, carry
on. And what a game, to be honest. It's pretty much just an area control game, but they've really lent into the thematics still. There's less asymmetry with your players, so it's easier to teach. But there's still enough within your deck, because you basically it's kind of like a pseudo deck builder where you do buy cards and go into your deck and you play it to do actions. and everyone's a little bit different. I played China, so I was my deck seemed to lead towards the trade and the kind of the more investment side of map control rather than warring and less about services. Selling a lot of phones, which was good for money. I felt quite rich in that aspect, and I don't know, it felt really nice and thematic, even though it was kind of quite light in a lot of aspects. It was literally, you place a cube on an area. You can place a cube in a variety of different ways, either by building bases, which usually meant you had to have some military, some tanks to be able to put that out, which cost resources, or you could have some influence within that country, which you would have to first buy using I want to say favour, but it's not favour, is it? Diplomacy. Using diplomacy to buy said card, and then you can use said card later on to help reduce the cost of diplomacy to put cubes out onto that area. Or there was ways of you just invest into that country. You can flip the card, put an investment token on, so you can only do that once. Like with your base, you could only do that once in that country via that one card, and put a cube out. And then there were scoring rounds. I think it was the third or fourth round.
Fourth and seventh
round were scoring rounds where you would score for majority in these areas. There were set placements, so the first there would be locked in, but then there were VP placements later on, which would rotate and could move, and you could knock people out of it, and you wouldn't score it until it was full. You guys were fighting over the Middle East, so there was also Europe, America, and Russia. Adrian was playing Russia. JP was playing
USA.
America. And Anthony, who joined us, was playing Europe.
Yeah, EU.
And it was, you guys were fighting over the Middle East. I was just sneaking around, just doing trade and investing in countries. It was just really thematic. It was really strange because it literally sounds like it shouldn't be. But it seems they've tightened the gameplay up in a certain aspect where, one, you kind of like, oh, well, I'm Russia. I'm Russia. I'm going to go to Belarus and then go to the Middle East and fight there.
We should mention this game is set in 2010. So that is the background of it. Obviously, there are some world things happening that could affect, I suppose, people's point of view on the game and factions and all that lot. So yes, I played Russia. Yes, I invaded part of Europe. Like there's some sort of, but I just said, oh, I'm Russia, and I've clearly got more like build bases and move tanks and all that lot. So why don't I just leave? Whether that's the right thing I'll do, I don't know, but it's a demo. Let's just lean into it. So started a fight with Europe and America, basically.
Turn one. Build a base, going into Europe.
It has a unique threat mechanic. You never really fight. You don't lose troops. You don't lose anything. There's just something called threat, and the person with the most tanks in that space can threaten those other players, and you start losing VPs at the end of rounds.
Only in certain regions, because it depends on the region, depending what countries get the threat.
Are allowed to have bases or things there anyway. So it's also America and Europe never threaten each other.
Yeah.
So you're safe. So
Russia and America can never trade.
Yeah,
all those little things. Let's say just make it thematic without. I like the idea of hegemony, whatever we want to call it. I like the idea of that, but I was always a little bit put off by how asymmetric it was. And for some people, that'll be the best thing ever about it, right? But I think for those like me who are like, it's too asymmetric, will enjoy this for being a little bit asymmetric and doing a very similar thing, just on a sort of a grander scale, I think.
Yeah, it's a heavy teach, isn't it? So it's hard to get to the table with hegemony. But whereas this one, I feel like you could put it down. I mean, they taught us the mechanics in 15 minutes, if that.
Yeah, I mean, it's seven actions,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Every action, he was like, right, do this, do that for quite a while. It felt like so. Okay. I think there is it was a bit more assisted teach rather than.
Then he wasn't a full on, was it?
Yeah, but
it's 7 actions in the game, right? Apart from the extra cards, but they're themed around these 7 things you can do. You know, some militaristic, some economic, and some diplomatic.
Yeah, so
and then one about growing your country.
Yeah, so I think you had 6 cards in your hand. You paid 4 in a round, and then the other 2 helped buy your other cards or give you some resources.
Yeah,
so it was quite short rounds as well, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think they said it's going to be like 2 to 3 hours playtime, which is like a full hour less than Hegemony.
Didn't feel too long between turns. It was
zip round. It surprised me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I thought, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this. I enjoy hegemony, and I thought, like the thematics, I'm not that bothered about. But then as soon as I started role playing the USA and I got into it.
You did seem to be enjoying it when
Yeah.
you walked past your table. Everyone was like, "Oh, this is really good." Straight away, you were.
I had Russia invading. I thought, God, I'm not having that. So me and Adrian just at loggerheads, just trying to put threat against each other throughout the game. It's just fun. It's like it is. I'm not saying it's light, because it's not light, but it's just it's more accessible, and it still has that hegemony DNA. Yeah,
and it's got that look as well.
Yeah,
like the way the cards are laid out, the way the board's laid out. I think it will feel familiar, but I don't want to call it light, but lighter and quicker.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not light, and it's not really quick either.
I think it's just an easier teach. I wouldn't even say it's lighter in some aspects. I would just say it's easier to teach, and that's going to be most of your battle. Teaching hegemony was a task.
And very asymmetric, which is what made it the task.
Yeah, exactly. But I really enjoyed it. I definitely want to play it again. And also we got to speak to the developers.
Van
and also their marketing manager, I think. And they seemed really receptive of feedback as well.
Yeah.
I didn't realise this, otherwise I'd have given them some of the feedback.
You weren't there. Yeah, you had to.
Yeah, you had to go, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, so I whipped off just to go and see another stand, but I was tired, and I'm dyslexic, and the cheat sheet was an A4 piece of paper filled with words.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to build a base. Don't forget that's 5 coins. Oh, it's 5 coins. Whereas a lot of other actions said pay 5 or something like that. But the basic actions, which don't think of that basic, had no cost next to them. There was no I just wanted a little tiny card that said base equals 5 coins, move action equals 5 coins, this costs diplomacy. And some of it was on the board, but most of it was on this big A4 sheet.
Yeah.
And I just, as someone, again, and if I wasn't tired, I'd have probably just read that sheet. But I tried twice to start reading that sheet, and my brain went, no, not having any of this whatsoever.
So if you want to give feedback, they are still taking feedback for their Kickstarter. So they were really nice and inquisitive. And yeah, there's a little tech deck that you can get from services above. And we said, because everything's got a lot more variability, that would be nice if they had like other tech deck that you kind of would choose between each game.
Yeah.
Which so that would be different each time you play, which had another nice, and they were very receptive of that. And I think
you could get old quick if it's just 2 options every time and you know what they are.
Because that's the only thing that wouldn't change, right? Everything else would change. Yeah. Like the shops would change. Obviously, your deck would stay the same, and where you start, it would stay the same. But that's fine. That's where the thematics come from with what faction you're playing.
Yeah.
But having a bit more variability from all of the board would be good. But whether that happens or not, I don't know. But they seem to be very, very receptive of feedback and open to making any changes, which is nice from a developer when you've got your users and you listen to them. So that was quite good.
Yeah, I still thoroughly enjoyed the game. Just as say, I was feeling tired that morning and just wasn't in the mood for reading large banks of text.
Yeah,
so
making images always makes it easier, doesn't it? Icons.
Symbology or whatever would have just absolutely cleared that up for me. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Definitely keeping an eye out for it. It says coming 2024 on their website, late 2024. So
yeah,
later in the year. Check it out.
I think the Kickstarter launches or GameFound launches very soon.
What about you, Bax? What did you do Sunday?
Basically, on Sunday, I wandered every single stall.
You walked the halls.
I walked the halls.
Shopping
spree. Yeah. Kerley met up with a friend of his that lives fairly close by, about an hour close by, her and her partner and her 2 sons. So they kind of had a really good demo of Rove. I think they really enjoyed it. I think they're going to back it. And her son had a demo of Terraria.
Oh yeah,
and they're definitely backing that one.
I've heard a lot of buzz about Terraria.
Yeah, it was always a very, very busy stand. They did a raffle where you either threw beanbags in a thing for points, and I beat Kerley, and that was the best. I didn't need to play the game. Yeah, that was fine. Or you could do like a social media post or whatever.
Okay.
And they were calling the raffle, I think it was like maybe Saturday at 4:00 or something. The amount of people around that, you couldn't get anywhere near it, and they were calling certain tickets, and I think if you didn't claim it straight away, you didn't get it. And I think they were doing things like some merch, but they were also, the top prize was an all-in big fat pledge, like the biggest top level one. So that was quite exciting. We didn't win.
Was this still Terraria? Was it?
Terraria,
Yeah. Chucklefish, good game.
Not played it.
Good computer game.
2D Minecraft,
Yeah,
but with a bit more.
I think Kerley had played it, or he was interested in it anyway.
Yeah.
So.
We had an interview with Rove. I think it was on the Friday, wasn't it? They kind of quickly went through it. So just as you can go onto our socials and see the interview with the guys from the stand there. But it's a big box campaign that is very designed to be quick set up and tear down. You've got a map on one page of a book. On the other page is the monster manual, basically, that tells you everything you need to know about the monsters you're fighting. Every scenario has a little box that's got all your tokens in it. You just open that box, set it up. At the end, you chuck that box away. If you want to do the next scenario, you open the next box up, which I thought was really nice touch. Like, a lot of developers are kind of moving in that direction, but it feels like they've gone full in on, let's make it quick to set up, quick to tear down. You know, progression is simple. You've got a version that's 6 games in, then you've got a version like 1 to 6, then you've got a version of your same character that's 6 to 12 sort of thing. And so everything is fairly simple, but from what I can make out from Kerley, quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, he
did
enjoy
that game as what it was doing. It's just everything's there for you. There's so much less flicking through manuals by the looks of it. So give it a look on our socials if you're interested, and obviously have a look at their website as well. But yeah, I'm not a dungeon crawler person. Even to me, I was like, oh, this sounds pretty good. This sounds quick setup, quick tear down. Yeah, that's the bit that sounded appealing to me. I'm not a dungeon crawling person or a person that's interested in games with minis either. Don't care about either of those things. And I was like, well, so how is that? Is that, it looks the same as Heroes of Might and Magic to me, and apparently that was the wrong thing to say. It's nothing like Heroes of Might and Magic 3, apparently. Fine, because that game takes 1,000 years to set up and put back. So at least Rover's got one on that, I think. But yeah, Kerley looked interested.
I mean, that's where like publishers and designers are leaning into hard, I think, now, is that usability.
Yeah.
The UX of a game, the setup, tear down, like, it's good because no one wants a Frosthaven style setup anymore, I don't think.
It's the biggest downside to any of those games, and I think if designers are finally listening to everyone and going, okay, everyone's loving the game, but the one thing that they hate is setup and tear down. How do we make that easier?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that should be what you're thinking of when you're designing these things. So it's good there, isn't it? It's really good.
And I think they've taken sort of cost into sort of the point of them designing bits and bobs. I think they're doing a standee version and a minis version, which I think is a really, really great. I mean, actually, the minis look pretty cool. For me to say that, I mean, they're pretty cool.
Must be good.
Yeah. But I'm never, ever going to want to spend an extra £100 or whatever it is on a game with minis. A, because it takes all your Kallaxes, and we're at max Kallax now. We've had to do a take upstairs for the B strata
you've actually
games.
hit a limit. Finally.
Well, I mean, we've had to put some of the ones upstairs in a Kallax upstairs that are like the...
You can start hanging them from the ceiling.
It's B tier.
No, we can't
Your
hang them from the
B-tier
ceiling
games.
anymore because we've got all the empty boxes on top of the Kallax that are not even in the Kallax. So there is now a tertiary, secondary Kallax, which has got the sale pile. And there are some games of mine in there. Just putting that out there.
Oh, we should do is build a bookshelf out of board games and then put the board games within the board games.
A Kallax out of
The
board
Russian
games.
doll system.
Yeah. But I'm never going to want to take up more room on the shelf if I can avoid it. And I'm stingy, so spending £100 less is always going to be what I'm going to do. And then regret it when everyone's got shiny minis and mine are crap. Yes, fine. But
Nice. What's next?
Yeah, Rove.
I played Terminus.
Yeah.
So Inside Up Games is producing a lot of games I like at the moment. So Earth is probably, I think, their best known game, and have thoroughly enjoyed that and backed their Kickstarter for that. And then I rushed there on Friday to get Draft and Write records in case they ran out. They did not. They still had loads left, but I was just like, I don't want to miss out on this again. I felt like I missed out on it once already, so I wanted to get that, and then signed up for Terminus. So how to describe Terminus? It's a route planning game where you are trying to... Yeah, all right, I like route planning games. All right, calm down.
Is there any buses in this one?
No, it's subway trains.
Oh, okay.
So you're trying to plan a route around. At the same time, the way you do that is by going around this rondel action selection. And someone had previously described it as Great Western Trail, and I was like, I don't see it. Just can't see how this is anything like Great Western Trail. But by the end, I kind of could. So we got to play, and we played quick and got one of the sort of 3 ages of this game through, which is everyone gets 3 goes around this rondel, and then once those 3 are done, everyone kind of sets up as, I'm first player for next round, I'm second player, I'm third player, and they get a bonus if they get round quicker. But you don't necessarily want to get round quicker. And all you're doing really is putting buildings out that are next to your stations. You are then collecting loads of resources to allow you to put stations and your subway links down to get around the board. And each building you put down has a place you want to connect it to. And if you get a station in that area, you can take off the little... if you go to one of the areas on the rondel, you can take off the little thing and slot it in your XP pile, essentially. And the more of these you get, the more XP they're all worth. And the reason why I said it started feeling like Great Western Trail is to start off with, you're like, right, I'll visit the 3rd space, the 5th space, the 7th space, and then I'm done. The next time around, you probably built a building, and that'll say, well, you might not want to go here for the normal action, but you, as your owner of this building, can now use it to buy 4 of this other resource. So you're going to stop there as well, kind of, and they're normally a much better deal than actually stopping at the place. So you're kind of going to stop at a few more places. Every single time you go round, you're probably going to stop at more and more spaces on this rondel. You might just zoom round because you need to beat someone to it, because resources get more expensive as you take more. And as I say, at the end of the 3rd sort of age, everything kind of goes back to the beginning, and then they start and do 3 more loops. And you are just building into each other's areas, trying to build as many stations to link up to other buildings. And you can kind of... Everyone gets their own buildings they've built, but it can also house one other person's meeple, which means you get access to that building. And if I link up to your station, get a little bonus, but then you kind of get to count as part of my system as well. So you're kind of wanting to do a little bit of joining up of systems, but not too much, because it starts to make it easier for other people to do things. There's a lot going on. I'm not going to say there's not, because there's like 4 or 5 different resources. You need the resources to build stations, to build tracks, to move up how many stations of infrastructure you can handle. So you have to move up this little track. Every time you want to build a station, you need to have more power going to all these stations. So you're trying to build up this kind of interlocking lattice of it. And yeah, I was impressed with it. I think it has got that. We played a 3rd of the way through the game, but I don't think we really played a quarter of the game, really, because you're going to slow down as you continue to go down round and round this rondel. So yeah, no, really enjoyed it. Hopefully we've got a copy on its way to us. They've said hopefully we'll get a copy, which is good, so we can give it a proper review and yeah, tell you what the full game is like. But yeah, thoroughly impressed with the demo I had. Inside Up Games are kind of known for sort of being a family company. Normally that means to me like kids games, but these are clearly not kids games. But the girl, she booked me in for the demos on the Friday. The little boy came around and was like, how's your game going? What strategy did you go with? All those kind of things that kind of make you feel like it's a family-owned business, but they're producing these fairly big, quite hot games constantly. Yeah. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my playthrough of it. So, and I know Stuart, sort of
it's a right up the street,
had the slot like the hour after I did, and he came back immediately and went, yep, I'll be looking at that game as well. So
that little girl is so cool on that stall. She was the one that managed to get our copy of Earth.
Yes.
Last year.
Last year. She remembered. She's got a fantastic. You can tell she's an amazing board game player. She's got an amazing memory. She's really friendly and lovely as well. And yeah, I remembered her really, really well from last time.
Connor has already drilled those kids in good customer service.
Yeah.
Just saying, like already at a young age, they're like all over that.
Yeah. And they just it seems like a really nice little family unit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It seems really friendly. Yeah,
we're doing well with games this expo, aren't we? Lots of copies of things winging our way.
Yeah, lots of chance to talk to different designers, different publishers. We've hopefully got a few more interviews coming up for expansion episodes.
Yeah.
It felt I don't know, is step up the right word? But it felt like a next step up for us as a team to go out there and have those conversations.
We have to do a dance as well next.
If we had to
step up board game version.
If we had to do a flash mob in the middle of Expo, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'll be honest, I would quite enjoy doing that.
Watch out next year, flash mob.
The Who's Turn flash mob. But yes.
Whose move is it anyway?
Mine. Yeah, so I felt like we got a lot of interviews and a lot of sort of let's have preview copies and let's talk to developers and designers. So yeah, so really, I had a blast this year.
So that's kind of concluding our expo.
It was a long one.
Yeah, it was a long one. We would like to say a big thank you to a load of people we met up with. We got to see Nicole and her son there, which was great to see you guys. They also came to the live show, so thank you for that as well, for that support.
Saw them a few times over the weekend.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
which was nice.
Nice to have a chat.
Yeah, like one at the Hall 3 Open Gaming, and then at the show, and then just wandering around. So it's always good to bump into people.
Yeah, we've got some more honourable mentions.
Yeah, we've got, I think Jesse came and kind of tapped on the shoulder and said hi, which was awesome. Neil as well, one of our supporters, just randomly walked past him and we had a little brief chat. I think that was on the Friday, so good to see you, Neil. And we had Aidan, who came to the show, and not met Aidan before. I think a few of the other guys had kind of had a conversation at the show and also in the Open Gaming as well. So that was cool.
So I'm pretty sure he saw us at GridCon, saw us in our regalia at GridCon, thought, who on earth are these people, and started listening, and then we're like, we're going to go and see them at the live show.
Yeah.
And they said hello around the hall as well.
Wow, so they met us first and they liked us, and that's what made them listen to the show.
I don't know if they met us, they just saw our logo across the hall and thought that might look like it's interesting. So hopefully they still like us, but yeah.
It's good they haven't met me yet and then put them off.
Chaos. There's other people, I'm sure, listener-wise, that we met. A lot of people kind of just said hi, and we didn't probably catch your name, so we need to get better at that, just so we can give you shout-outs.
Shout your name at us when you come and greet us. Just go, Jim, and then that's it. And
I think
we'll respond.
There's an ask for next time, because like we're a bit more prepared with having more portable mics, and more than ever this year. So next year, if you want to get on the episode and have a little brief recording with us, ask. We'll put you in. We'll find a little slot. We'll put you in.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely do that.
Be nice to give back.
Yeah, absolutely. But other people have met at the show. We've got Mark Monk from UK Games. He was the man there doing his thing, which is always nice to catch up with. And
he sold some stuff to Rob.
Did he?
He sold him Shadows of
Gloom of Kilforth,
whatever it was.
Yeah, Rob's so excited about this game.
I think if Mark had kept talking, Rob would have been very poor by the end of the expo. It was just very lucky that Mark was like, here's 2 or 3, because I think if Mark had just kept going, Rob would have spent all his pocket money.
We saw Mark at the con, went back to the room, and then we listened to Mark on his video going on about Gloom of Kilforth. And we had Mark in stereo pretty much most of that day.
Mark.
Rob is like all over it. Mark Dainty as well from Not Board Gaming. I always seem to catch up with him at Expo, and it's really nice to catch up with Mark. I have badgered him actually. He's going to hopefully come on the show soon. So I've been knocking on his door. So
we're going to have so many expansion episodes coming up if we get all these people on. But it'd be good.
We'll schedule them in.
It's what we want.
Exactly. So, but no, it's good to catch up with Mark.
Our thoughts on expansions anyway. It's fine. Can't have enough.
It's true.
Yeah. More expansions, the better. Got to collect them all. Those are the people that
we... Right, Ash.
Hey. But yeah, those are the people we caught up with. Well, I did anyway. I'm sure there's probably more that I've forgotten, but I'm tired. We've got post-expo knackeredness.
We've been recording for over 3 hours at this point. I'm sure we'll get cut down, but I think we're all a little bit brain fogged. But I definitely spoke to other people. Me and Rob were just randomly walking past... what was the stand? We were randomly walking past where Andromeda's Edge and all that lot was, which I know you guys stopped there for a bit, and these 2 guys just went, "Wait, whose turn is it anyway?" And we kind of went, "Wait," back to them, and then we're like, both sort of naturally wandered off, and then thought, were they listeners? did they just find our t-shirts funny?
Or they're taking the piss?
Yeah, not a clue, but it was just great to have those weird little interactions with people. Weird is probably a wrong word, but it's just nice to have interaction with people who might have known us, might not, or just were interested in saying hello. Again, I think I spoke to someone who were like, "Oh, we've seen you here last year," and I was like, "Yeah, we came last year again in the t-shirts and all that lot." And they were like, "What have you played today?" and all that kind of stuff, and just having a nice conversation with people. Yeah,
we should get some electric trolleys and ride around along next year.
Bad boys for life.
Yeah, exactly.
I chit chat to anyone. Like the bring a buy sell queue is my favourite.
Yeah.
Or
the gossip is
queuing for food or whatever. I'm always chitty chatty.
But you mentioned Andromeda's Edge, so that was the last thing I did before we had to kind of jet out there, because Davey's parking was running out imminently, and basically I met up with Peter Vaughan from Cardboard Alchemy, who also published Flamecraft, so it's the same publisher, and met up with Rosie, the comms manager, but also she has a very, very successful TikTok and Instagram account, which is Cozy Board Games, and managed to have a bit of a chat with her, which was lovely, and got a photo, throw it up on the socials, and so got to have a little overview of Andromeda's Edge, and did a little interview with Peter as well, which was nice. And game's just, the production on that game's looking immense. I'm hoping it's good. I'm hoping it's really fun to play, because I backed it. So we'll find out soon enough. But yeah, that was good fun.
So I think it's time to close things up now.
Yeah,
after
bedtime.
3 hours. Yeah. Just massive thank you to everyone. Massive thank you to our listeners. Thank you for everyone that showed up and who spoke to us. I know we've just mentioned you all, but thank you. And if we haven't, then we're sorry.
Yeah, it's fair.
You can catch us on our socials via the show notes. Website. You can donate on Ko-fi if you want. That's amazing for all the people that have, and you don't need to. We're more than happy, obviously, if you don't want to, but if you do, thank you very much. And yeah, until next time. Whose turn is it anyway?
I think it's ours again. Live episode.
Oh, that's soon as well, next week.
Next week.